doing this whole time. I mean, it's an interesting phenomenon. I don't think it's something to be concerned about as far as that goes. Of course, when you say concerned, it triggers them because they think it's being caused by CERN. No, but there's a tremendous schism within it as far as the people who are legitimately affected or who think they are and blame it on parallel dimensions, and then those who blame it on a more religious or churchy cause, like God did it. It's like, yeah, God actually altered the spelling on Fruit Loops because he knew that you were receptive in the morning and you're getting that sugar rush. You're just waking up and you have this big, colorful toucan, and it's a sign from God. And messenger birds from God are like nothing new. That's what you're supposed to think, but you know the term Fruit Loops for a long time has been just kind of a way of saying crazy. And I don't think that's a coincidence that they chose Fruit Loops as one of their memes to mess with your minds, because the intelligence agencies are trying to make us look crazy because they want to lock us up because we see through their crap. We see through the media lies and we can't unsee it. Okay, so let me go ahead and let's see what we have here. I do think there's a new upload of Mendoozled, but I'll be right back. This is Smudgegate. I'm going to grab my laptop and see how many platforms, because I have another one I'm trying out. Yeah, good question. How come IPS can't have a Mandela effect? They rejected mine. They'll shoot your eyes out, kid. It's like, no, that's not a canonized miracle. The Vatican hasn't recognized it. It's like, who decides what's a Mandela effect and what isn't? I lost my keys. That's a fucking Mandela effect if I say it is. Prove me wrong. Like, that's your standard. If that's your standard, I will never misspell again. And if I'm lost, it's because the city shifted. It's bigger than a city. I've never seen my entire city go black from the ISS passing over. I mean, I think that's a problem.
No, because that is not a shadow, nor is it on the earth. That is a smudge. See, right there? Not a shadow, has a... That is a smudge, either on the lens itself, or on the glass that the camera is filming. It is a smudge. It is not a shadow. That is a smudge. It is a smudge. It is not a shadow. That is a smudge.
Okay, so it turns out that I'm also live right now on BitTubers, a live stream over there called Watching MSMTube Burn. YouTube's fascist moderators have flushed out IPS's channel and deleted the content. So yeah, BitTubers is another place where I'm streaming from, so wherever you're from, whatever platform, it doesn't matter. I'm trying to keep an eye on everyone. So I have the integrated chat module that integrates all of the different places we're speaking from, all the chat rooms in one place. So that's nice. Also, I want to point out that yes, we're back on the Y word because we have to be. That's where the guardrails are, and we're trying to tear down the guardrails. You know, we're on the fence, just looking over the fence, saying, "Hey guys, over here." So yes, I got this comment earlier today I want to address really quick. And hello to you in Float. If you guys like Float.app, it's getting better every day. It's replaced Twitter for me. It's my new go-to place for microblogging where I go to vent my microaggressions. But now I've migrated over to Float. But here's a little trick. YouTube, I mean, some of these other platforms do have some functions still. One of the functions that Twitter has is you can embed your Twitter feed on all your sites. And that's one thing I've been doing. And then you plug your Float app into that. So anything you do on Float gets propagated very easily. And of course, you don't have to uh, alienate yourself by jumping platforms, and then people who respond will naturally be drawn back over to where you are. And as many others have pointed out, most of the people that you interact with on Twitter and Facebook, if they're not bots, if they're real people, they're being inundated with bots. And there's so much content on these big channels. There's just so much competition for attention that it's at this point it's too big to be useful. Like you're not going to have an intimate conversation or a think tank in a crowded football stadium. You know, you've got to go into an isolated place. Well, not isolated, but a little more focused. So you have too many, I think, competing interests for your attention in these places, especially during a political year. So if you want to avoid that, I mean, I specifically remember 2016 being the year that Facebook caused me to lose a whole lot of friends and it burned a lot of bridges because of politics. Not just who you're voting for, but the political footballs. Oh, you vote for him? Well, therefore, you hate women. Or you're voting for her, therefore, you hate babies. So, however they frame it, you're screwed if you opine on these things. So, it's kind of nice to have a fresh start because you know they're dumping all their money into Facebook. The political parties are dumping their political spending into the big social media, so dodge it. You know, dodge their expensive propaganda and screw their attempts to figure out who you are so that they can micro target you with political ads. I mean, it's crap. So, welcome to really the true decentralized ecosystem, you know, that we should have created 5 years ago. But the thing is, and I think they knew this too, I think they knew that they could get a whole lot of people just reliant on being passive about how they receive their mediation or how they absorb media. You know, people usually prefer it. They try to get passivity, less effort, bigger screens, clearer, better sound, better all around, where you just kind of have to sit there and let it just fill you in every day. And YouTube does become very convenient as a source, but eventually they begin removing sources and narrowing the number of voices, making it seem like it's still representative of a whole lot of different points of view, but it's actually very narrow. I was working on a book about 6 months ago. I think it was a little premature, but I'm going to try to wrap it up. It's not a very large publication. Basically, I think it's called, the working title was Butt Triggered: How SJW Church Ladies Have Ruined the Internet. I already had it mostly drafted, and now it's just like, well, we have so much more to go off of. So what I'm doing now is I'm testing out different platforms and just how are we going to, keep this thing going without missing any, losing any time. And I think we've done pretty well. Like even the topic of YouTube is like, to us, it's kind of old. We've been talking about this for a while. It's just there to pick up the stragglers, but eventually, it's done. Like who really cares? And this might actually be a great opportunity for hitting back. Think about all the trolls. Like if you search for my videos, YouTube is happy to purge me, but my haters are able to upload all kinds of stuff about me. So I'm like, well, this might be a good time to purge a lot of content that I just don't like. Because if they're in that mode right now where they pretty much have carte blanche and they're just draining the YouTube swamp, I'm like, well, what, this we could probably leverage that to our advantage and do a little bit of I don't know, a little cleanup. By the way, autohoax.com is off to a great start. It's better than it was. If you didn't know, the wiki site had been shut down twice this year. Autohoax.com was shut down twice. It happened to be by Russian bots, of all things. Russian bots shut down autohoax.com. And we intend to make autohoax.com the hub. This is the place where the people who are at the point where they can actually call out the media hoaxes for what they are without waiting to be told what it is. Those of us who are real time breaking down MSM lies, there needs to be a network. There needs to be a movement formulated around this idea, and they have not allowed that to foment. They've worked against it. They've used wrecking balls like Alex Jones to destroy it, to make it look like anyone who questions it is crazy or psychotic, and they backtrack later. Or then you get people who get sued, like Jim Fetzer, very legit fellow, hit with a $450,000 suit because of what he said about a crisis actor. So these are all being done, I believe, to silence us. Really quick, I'm just testing out this site, bittubers.com. I have never used it before. And I'm going to put a link in the chat in case you guys want to look at it. But I'm using all the different options available to me. So there's the link to the live stream. According to what I see here, it says 89 watching. I don't know if that's total or if that's just on BitTubers. I can't really tell. I'll figure it out here in a minute. Jack posted a comment here. Mark Dice names the Jews in a new video. Yeah, Mark Dice is another one of these controlled opposition agents put here to sabotage free speech. He's also a death faker and not to be trusted. Mark Dice is River Phoenix. And that is not a controversial statement, strangely enough. I can back it up and I can show you that it's part of an integrated plan, a methodology where Big Brother has placed shepherds among the sheeple, and many of the shepherds who are doing grassroots media happen to be former entertainers, comedians, actors. Even big names you might think died a number of years ago, you might be surprised to find them on DLive or YouTube promulgating basically Alex Jones level fear porn, chemtrails, don't drink the water, that kind of stuff. Shills. And it sounds like a step down. Like, why would you go from Hollywood to basement dweller? And the thing is, it's not that it's a step down. It's more like they were always government basement dwellers. They were always working for the government. If you're an A-lister, you believe in climate change. You don't have a choice. I mean, what does that say? Can you imagine if the litmus test for getting into Hollywood, into big movies, into entertainment, if the litmus test was, do you believe in the judgment of God and that we're in the end times? And if you answered no, you wouldn't get a job. People would be like, wait a minute, how did we let the Hollyweird crowd get a stranglehold on culture? Well, guess what? You can't be an A-lister unless you believe in today's God and its judgment being the globe model's global warming eschatology. If you don't believe that fossil fuels are going to bring about doomsday, you are not given a big platform. You're not allowed to be a spokesmouth. It's pretty uniform. The state church has a stranglehold on culture. May not look like the old Judeo-Christian church, but it's the same template. Very little has changed. In fact, it's very extreme. The mainstream environmentalists are as extreme in their views as the Westboro Baptist Church, who are an extreme version of Christianity. Like, we do have extremists in charge. That's why they call us extreme. They say, you're borderline content, we got to ban you. Borderline, you guys are borderline personality disorder content. Mainstream media is all narcissistic psychological abuse of its viewers. Think about the lies. I was covering this earlier today. So I'm at autohoax.com. And the last thing I covered was this Pearl Harbor Naval Shipyard shooting. And before I start my live streams, I'm setting up a timer to give people time to show up. And I'm replaying archives. And I'm trying to find stuff that corresponds to what we're going to be discussing that day. And I was playing some clips from ABC News where they show some of the hyper-realistic school shooting drills that they put the children through. So I'm going to play about 30 seconds of this just to give you an idea. When I say that the propaganda is psychotic or that the mainstream media promulgates an extremist worldview, this is kind of what I'm talking about. Okay, one more thing. Whenever there were these pretty heated debates between creationists and atheists in the schools, you often saw this caricature of a Christian as neurotic, as almost psychotic, where they have like hell camp, where you send your kids to the summer camp run by Christians where they dress it up like hell and Satan scares them. That way they stick to the church. Like you had these types of like extreme versions where it's like, wow, they're just brainwashing the kids. Or you see kids with the Westboro Baptist Church holding signs that say, God hates figs or whatever. Well, you think that's bad? I mean, how different is that morally or ethically than Greta? How is Greta any more of a moral abomination than those little kids with the homophobic slurs? I think it's the same bitch. I mean, the same thing, same program. But anyway, check out this child abuse brought to you by your public
Columbine,
schools.
16% of school shootings took place where preschoolers and kindergarteners were present. This is Jessica Alcantara's 10th active shooter drill since August. She's been a teacher for 12 years.
Okay, so this is her 10th active shooter drill. She's been a teacher for 10 years. But what you see in this video, and you can go to autohoax.com if you want to look at it close up and download it, but you see the masked shooter coming in with blanks firing on children.
Years ago, when you started doing this, did you ever think you'd be locking kids down and taking
No.
precautions for a potential shooter?
No, because back in the days when I grew up, I was in school. That's the safest place ever. So, and then all this happening, it's like, am I really safe in school?
In the next drill, there's a twist. A student gunman.
No, stop!
So what's the training value in having like a 12-year-old murder a teacher and run around the classroom shooting at kids? I took basic rifle marksmanship when I was in the military, and I remember distinctly being told that at no point in any training situation will the barrel of your weapon ever be pointed at anybody for any reason. That there's no training value in this. It's a very dubious practice, and they're inducing fight or flight. To me, this is mind control, and it's Stockholm syndrome inducing. It has to do with the group and the in-group versus the other, and creating the otherness in the minds of the students. And today, I mean, you would call this propaganda, coercive propaganda, because they're teaching the kids, fear the angry poor white kids, fear the MAGA hats. I mean, these are stories. These aren't just drills, these are stories, and part of the curriculum is the mainstream media news coverage that they're forced to imbibe and believe. I mean, they're tested on it. To get passing grades, they got to be fully brainwashed, full Tide Pod. They have to drink all the government brainwashing detergent. They don't have an opt-out. And so this is what Drilled is going to be about. We're working on a documentary called Drilled. It'll be released on autohoax.com, and it's about this. This is the real purpose to these psyops in the news. They're not trying to get your guns. They're justifying this. And this is not generally ever looked at. None of the false flaggers ever talk about, hey, despite all the drama on the news that we're being distracted by, there's actual repercussions real time. It's not about they're going to get your guns in 20 years. It's about they've been terrorizing your kids for 20 years. Let's continue.
There's always that moment where even though it's just a practice, it gets to you.
Each drill costs the school $1,000. A 2016 U.S. government accountability report found 2/3 of school districts across the country conduct active shooter drills.
So you could get a gig as a shooting drill expert, and you just go in and you terrorize the school and they pay you for it.
Outside.
The training is required by Sabrina Seal, the preschool's owner.
Anna, come here, come on.
I'm very protective. Very, very, very.
But the beginning of it's a travesty. The little kids hiding, and look, these people have no clue what they're doing, the damage they're doing. These reporters are talking about it like, yeah, it's terrible, but we have to do it because of the shootings. Do we? This is why it matters if they're fake or false flags. The people who say they're false flags aren't allowing them to be called out for what they are, fake. And there's a reason why it matters. Because as long as these things are real, this stuff is justified. And we'll cover this in Drilled. I do not want the documentary to talk about the hoaxes or psyops or use that language because I don't want to alienate the specific issue with these other things that have just been totally contaminated by the likes of Jones and others. So today we were talking about the uniformed shooter kills self after shooting 3 DoD employees, and I pretty much haven't found much else to go off of, but it just seems like this is the agenda. 3 days from Pearl Harbor. That's a big propaganda thing. Some have said 3 days, 3 people shot, 3 DoD employees. Then he kills himself. So my guess is that this is going to definitely be used to draw attention to guns, the big bad guns. But also, I think they're going to talk about mental illness and how dangerous people in the military are because when they get out, they know how to use guns. And this is the thing they've been saying pretty much every other shooter. It's either someone who's crazy or it's a crazy veteran. When they have several different shooter archetypes. In fact, we should probably do a study on those in particular. That's where I got my start with this whole thing. I was analyzing the character of Dylan Roof. So you've got the racists, the bowl cuts, then you got the terrorists, and then you have the ideological shooters. What would you call Paddock? What was Paddock's motivation? Did anyone ever get that? And his brother, total actor, gave some BS story. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you saw that, but if you missed it, a couple of weeks ago, High Impact Flicks gave himself out as a government stooge or agent by suggesting that the Vegas shooting was actually done by a helicopter. And why did he say this? Well, because the footage doesn't show any shooters. Someone who actually was recording the Mandalay as they were being evacuated was like, wait, where's the muzzle flash? And the sound wasn't coming from up there. So this guy obviously knew it was a hoax, and he showed the video. So High Impact Flicks, instead of saying, whoa, it's a psyop, you know what he does? He comes out and he says, well, because the shooter must have been in the book depository by the grassy knoll in a helicopter. So he adds something to the story that wasn't there in the first place in order to make the story make sense. In other words, to preserve the integrity of the MSM story, he introduces a new element. And that's crap. That's agency. And it's unnecessary. And it's what all false flaggers do. And it's how you identify a false flagger. I have a few more things to go over, and then I'm going to leave this to my archives. I have some artwork to complete, artwork to ship out, among other things. I didn't let this debacle here with, COPPA and YouTube and all this crap slow us down. It's like, who cares? We were already planning for it. And like I said earlier, I have a plan. I'm not going to announce it openly, but I figure let's just take advantage of this opportunity and flush anyone off the tubes that we don't want to deal with anymore. And see how, look, some of these internet trolls who have just made a career out of being stalkers and haters, they're not going to have anywhere to go. And many of the communities and networks will be destroyed. So even though a lot of good is destroyed, a lot of bad is destroyed as well. So we get flushed out, but look, we're still an integrated network. But a lot of these other bad actors on the YouTube stage will pretty much disappear. Okay, so let's start with this. Someone today told me your whole Storm Antarctica idea should just start at 13,000 feet in Antarctica. And I'm like, what the hell? So it turns out that 1958, Encyclopedia Britannica, there's a statement about Antarctica that says they have a dome at 13,000 feet. Well, obviously, if someone discovered a dome, it would be more than just a footnote or a passing mention. So I assume the word dome had a different meaning in this context. So I dig into it, and it turns out that 13,000 feet, Antarctica does have a dome. The dome that is being referred to in Encyclopedia Britannica is the Dome Argus. And this is basically the land mass above 13,000 feet that covers the largest part of the continent. So if you look at this topographical map in the brown area, that's what they call the dome. And they say it's up to 13,000 feet, or it's 13,000 feet and above. So that's kind of an interesting little term that they used. But for some reason, the dome-believing flat earthers who are hell-bent on proving me wrong, they want me to believe a dome. Like, please accept our dome. No, I don't think so. Show me evidence. Show me the curve of the sky. But no, it doesn't mean dome. Not in the way that they say. By the way, we're also, just so you know, I wanted to make sure that we have a way for people who aren't on any of these platforms to still stay in the think tank. So what I did is I took out from my sock drawer 2 pre-approved live streamable accounts. So there are 2 accounts on YouTube. One is the IPS Black Wrench Bot. The other one's Infinite Plane Radio. And I've got a third one. But there are 2 live streams there. This is just for those of you who need to wean off of it. Wean away. But while you're in there, the Restream bot is going to send you links to Float. It's going to send you links to DLive and Float. Mostly Float because that's where I'm more active. DLive has some good features at the moment. Like, for example, if you miss something, you can watch the replay there. But I think that Float's going to add that anyway. And the reason you should follow on Float is that that's my microblog. That's basically like where I'm updating everything and posting stuff and sharing things. Check this out. Illustrated Guide to the CIA's Torture Program. It's funny how you have people who will talk about MK Ultra and CIA torture programs all day long with no evidence other than some leaked docs, but they have nothing to say about the ritual traumatic torture and programming, psychological torture of the students who undergo hyper-realistic school shooting drills. And that's not hyperbole. I just don't think it's well known. Just wait until Drilled comes out, and we have a plan to launch it. And when the right people see it. Okay, there was something here I wanted to look at. Here we go. FBI hired 2 CIA contract psychologists to create a program that would use violence, isolation, and sleep deprivation in secret sites. So this is talking about CIA techniques and let's see. Oh, the waterboarding. Remember that whole waterboarding thing? He was the first person known to be waterboarded by the CIA. This was Zain Hussein. Endured it 83 times. He was crammed into a small confinement box in what the Seton Hall study called a constantly rotating barrage of methods meant to break his resistance. Sounds like basically the Inquisition. It's the Inquisition all over again. Stress positions. Those are fun. They use those in training for soldiers and everything. Stress positions like this one. Hands above the head, forced to stand on tiptoe. Walling. Yeah, that's nice. Sleep deprivation. Now that's an underappreciated form of torture. Listen to this. The CIA justified sleep deprivation by saying it focuses on the detainee's attention on his current situation rather than his ideological goals. They would not deprive him of sleep for more than 11 days at a time. Now, what about sleep quality? I'm not really afraid of 5G, but hypothetically, if there was a technology to, I don't know, beam ideas into the minds of the sleeping, masses, like literally, like, I don't know, sentences or images, it'd be hard for me to think it wouldn't happen. Like your local Walmart or your local grocery store just sending signals. I could see it happening. It probably already is. And tinfoil hats are no longer enough if the 5G fear is real, which I honestly don't believe it. I think 5G terror, 5G fear or phobia, I'm looking at the articles and it's just a repeat of people used to fear flip phones. How many of you are afraid of flip phones? It's kind of funny. When flip phones came out, people thought that's going to give you brain cancer and tumors. And now the people who want to be like rebels against smartphones go back to flip phones. It's just like seems like there's this fear of anything that's new, this technophobia. Any new iteration is scary. Like 5G is scarier than 4G. 6G is going to be way scarier. And then the way that people have apprehension and fear, I think, is being manipulated. And these are very primal things. Like, I understand that fluoride in the water is said to make people lethargic. And today I was thinking, maybe more fluoride in the water might be a better alternative than non-fluoridated water if you really think that, like let's say you're really agitated. Like what would be better for you? Some type of tranquilizer like a barbiturate or just fluoride in the water. I'd like to see some more studies. And the reason why I bring this up is that just as there's this fear of the sky that seems to be tapped into with all the big conspiracies and religions like alien invasions, asteroids. I mean, how many different ways do people fear the sky? Retribution from God has always been from the sky. But also fears about what's in the drinking water or fears that you're being poisoned. These are actually listed in the DSM books as symptoms of schizophrenia. The diagnostic statistical manual, I think it's 5 or 6 by now, it talks about symptoms, and one of them has to do with paranoia, specifically the paranoia of people poisoning your water. So I'm wondering, because I do think chemtrails is a planted story to make non-mainstream news consumers look crazy. And I'm starting to think that the fluoride in the water might be an overstated fear. Because check this out, in New Jersey, you had these like hate crimes committed by these. Here we go. There was like, okay, here we go. Here it was just recent. Prosecutors seize a New Jersey man's rifle over his anti-Semitism. Okay, yeah, this is the article here I was looking for. So apparently, they saw fit to seize a guy's gun, his rifle, because of his statements he made online. But in the description of this person that they pre-crimed, they basically charged him and convicted him of a pre-crime. There was something in here where they described how he was afraid of the water and said that the water had been poisoned. And I'm like, I'm wondering now. I'm wondering here if they're not planting stories that are just designed to give you 5 or 6 check marks on a list. So it's like, oh, you believe that this is true? You don't believe that's true. You question that. You think this, and this. Check, 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 check. Okay, you are a paranoid. I mean, this is weaponized psychiatry in practice. And look, I don't believe this story is true. Like, I mean, it could be, but what I'm saying is this doesn't represent a real threat. It says here, New Jersey grapples with far-right extremism after arrests. No, it's just that the far-right devils are indefensible right now. Nobody will stand up for them. So now they can use far-right extremists as an excuse to say, we ought to start seizing guns of people who don't trust the drinking water and say hateful things and share memes. And whenever they have someone like this, someone you would never defend, an avowed racist, you're not going to stand up for him, and you're going to allow them to abrogate your freedoms. They're going to find some way to get you to say, let's make some concessions. Full as Bum says fluoride in the toothpaste has got to be worse than in the water. Possibly. I'm just saying, I have to question everything. I have to question the mainstream conspiracy theories. I mean, here you have Bill Hicks, Alex Jones saying, "Don't drink the water. It'll make you dumb. Get my water filter," right? So he's selling water filters from day one, selling fear of tap water from day one. And so now I'm looking back at, well, how many things did this guy get me to look really, really closely at, or people like him, that aren't worth fearing? And it could be another baseless fear. Fluoride might actually raise your IQ. I should try it. I should just go on a strict fluoridated water fast for 3 days, go full fluoride, and then do a few live streams and see what you guys think. See if I'm 10%, smarter or something. Anyway, seizing his rifle over his anti-Semitism. Well, let's go seize the rifles of anybody in the ADL over their anti-white bigotry. And that's not a controversial statement either. For me to say that the ADL has an anti-white bias, yeah, it's like, duh. They hate white people. They hate poor whites. They want to make caricatures and attack them. They've been doing it openly. You got to call a hater a hater. You can't say, well, because they've been hated in the past, they're allowed to hate. No, you don't get to use your mantle of victimhood to be a bully. Screw that. Make bowl cuts great again. Look, this is the type of garbage that I expect. This is how manufactured hate crimes look. Like, this is BS. Okay, see, look at the screen. This is from an article by Jewish Journal press release. Now look, I have a problem with political identity groups because they're cults. I don't like these types of destructive cults. Whether it's a bunch of feminists or a bunch of MGTOW male lesbians or a bunch of bigoted Jews who hate white people or a bunch of bigoted white people who hate Jews, not into the group hate. But the guy we're just talking about, he did not burn a swastika. I don't even know if that's a thing. He was not at a rally. This isn't a rally. This is a crappy stock photo. So they put a crappy stock photo and attached it to this. New Jersey Nazi charged with ordering vandalism. Let me see what he did. What did he spray paint a swastika on a sign and spray paint it backwards? And I got a lot of flack for saying something, but I'm going to say it again. If you see a swastika painted on a synagogue, you ought to check the rabbi's hands for paint. If you see a noose hanging outside of a black student union office at a college, check the security camera and make sure that one of them didn't plant it. We've had black pastors burning their churches and blaming whites. We've had scapegoating on all sides. Every single psyop has a scapegoat. And so I'm pointing out the reality here that they have been scapegoating. Well, 20 years ago, they were scapegoating Muslims. And they said, okay, we've got to stop profiling. We've got to stop this caricature of Muslims as terrorists. And they've cleaned that out. They've cleaned it up. They've pretty much made it incorrect politically to insinuate that any Muslim would ever commit an act of terror. But now it's gone the other way, to where now it's like it's open season on this other group. And look, this is important. This topic is important because the invention of the non-existent neo-Nazi. Neo-Nazis are pretty much defanged keyboard warriors at best. There's nothing there. There's nothing to fear. There's no social organization. And guess what? They vote Democrat. The neo-Nazis are a bunch of socialists. So they vote with the feminists. They vote with the Jews. They vote with the black identity groups. They vote with all the groups that vote for big state. So it's like you guys don't even have any real beef. This is all just drama. And that's all that matters, where they vote, where they spend, and what policies they advance. So they're all socialists. I just say send all the Nazis to the moon base. Send every political identity group to a different base. Send some to Mars, some to the moon. If they want to get into this type of separatism and merge into superorganisms, Instead of like warring with other groups and saying, okay, well, we're defined by our hatred of this group, so we will always hate. How about you just get the hell out of here? Exodus. That's why I like the idea of flat earth, and I never understood why Eric Dubay said, well, the white people need to move to Europe. He did that whole ethno-fascist state thing. I'm like, why? If there's more land, you can spread out. You can spread so far apart that you really would have no interest in warring with one another, if that's your inclination. But my point all along here really has been this. It's not our inclination. I do not think that we are warlike or naturally disposed to just hate each other 24/7. I think this is all instigation from the inside. I think that the neo-Nazis are fake as far as being some kind of a monolith, just like radical Islam. Like, are there really terrorists on every street corner? Like terrorist cells in every mosque? No. Are there school shooters in every school? No. These are manufactured threats. Are there asteroids coming within inches of destroying all life on Earth every few weeks? No. Lies, lies, lies. So my point is this. The manufactured neo-Nazi devil has been used as an excuse to censor us. This is how they ramped it up. The New Zealand shooting gave them all the justification they needed. And that was followed up by a couple of synagogue shootings that reference that one as inspiration. All fake. So they've been using this manufactured devil to provide atrocities, to catalyze the public opinion in such a way that it votes to self-exterminate and to destroy its own rights. And it's BS. But anyway, I have something else I was thinking about mentioning really quick, because people wonder, like, what platform should I go to? There's so many platforms. Because yes, we're on 9 platforms and 2 YouTube channels. So from now on, it's going to be InfinitePlaneRadio.com, InfinitePlaneSociety.com. It doesn't matter. Infinite Plane Live. They all go to sites that have this site embedded. So if you didn't know, Restream now has an embedding feature. They just started it like 2 days ago. It's like the day I get kicked out of YouTube, all the good stuff comes out to where it's like, cool, it doesn't matter. So all of my websites now have my live stream. And if you go to any of these pages and we're not live, it will actually have links to all the different options, all the viewing options. Just click the icon. And then down below, I'll have links to other options as well. So like right now, I think we're on 7 platforms, but tomorrow we'll be on 9. So we don't have too many people from the YouTube crowd, but we will. Yeah, Restreambot is hard working. But here's what he's going to do. Like the way that this causes intercommunication between all the different chat rooms, we're sending out 2 different chat rooms onto YouTube just to bring people over. And we'll double the number of live viewers. And I think once we cross that 100 mark, I think it's all downhill from there. We'll just steadily climb. And that's the trajectory we've been on. And luckily I made an effort to lasso in as many people as I could before, because we were planning on there being a 12:10 doomsday. It came a little early for us. So in 2 days, we have another doomsday. Mandoozle Day. What could happen? Think about it for real. Like, I'm not even slightly exaggerating. If 1 million people download and watch The Mandela Effect and find themselves affected, that's 1 million people who might be candidates for treatment. And it might be seen as a mass mental health crisis, that people are misremembering facts and they'll say, hey, look, we've been hyper-mediated for far too long. There are too many fake news outlets. There are too many alternative versions. And it's so confusing that it's a threat to public safety, because demagogues like IPS have helped convince people that climate change is a hoax, and now we're all going to die. So we're going to have to limit the number of outlets that communicate. Like, that's kind of where they're heading. Also, before I go, and I'm just going to switch it over to some archives. Before I go, 5150, I think, is the code for picking up mental health cases. because they're threats to themselves and to society or whatever. I think it's a California thing. I want to hijack that. I'm not sure if I want to make 5150 shirts, but I want to kind of start working on deconstructing their mentally ill boogeyman. They're like, oh, look, these Nazis are so bad, they might vandalize a synagogue. Well, they're not the ones pointing guns at kids in schools and committing simulated violence because they think it somehow makes them better equipped to survive in the world. That's the truth here. That the public school teachers are actually psychoer than the neo-Nazis. All right, I'll see you all later. This is ISS on Fire. I'm going to leave it to some archives.
ISS on fire. 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 ISS on fire.
We be the Pequenati, the new Illuminati. We're to free your mind, your soul, and your body. They can't stop me, but they keep on trying to keep denying that they got all of the minds crying on our personal lives as the lies unfold. Truth is sitting around waiting for some truth to be told. But let it be known that we are hoes. Questioning that'll take you out of your comfort zone. I'm not saying I know there's no don't, but it kinda feels like going right into the club while the shepherds like the place to fly. The doomsayers debate about their doomsday clock. Some say a word of cult of believers, but how you know when we're nothing but leaders? You can let think, man, you know that's the credo. We keeping that in mind everywhere that we go.
Day after day we open the doors of perception, finding more and more of the same deception. Armed with minds to unlock the hidden answers, interested in research, journalistic freelance. Having left behind any more specific proposition, opened eyes perceiving through direct observation. Having left the realm of fairy tales and fiction, sharpened beaks pointing the right direction. Making use of the tools we have at hand to fight against ignorance across our land. Smashing absurdity with blue branches, uncovering idiocy and distributing pink branches. Separating the wheat from the chaff. Your tragedies form patterns and make us yawn. Badly acting human shields that randomly spawn. Making use of the tools we have at hand. Separating the wheat from the chaff. We do in fact call BS on your fabricated anecdotes. Moving on without you, not even leaving notes. Activating infinite potential, lying fallow. People waking up, speaking what they know. We recognize your fakes, empty the frames. We have looked through all your fancy games. Your green screen doesn't impress us anymore. Your fear tactics acting weaker despite fake gore. Not accepting quotes that caught me both cages. Thinking freely from our hearts, writing pages. Entries to the book of life so keen. Walking a new passes and ends unseen.
We were never able to see stars from the lunar surface or on the daylight side of the moon.
It's not black and white. I mean, it's black, but there's all kinds of polka dots.
Space is fake AF. Space is fake AF.
There's more than stars. You can see planets. You can see moons.
You see the gas.
It don't matter. Say the sky was not the limit. We fly to the moon in another second, but we haven't been back since 1972. Destroyed all the papers and blew up the Challenger crew, except for the twinsies. Space is fake AF. Space is fake AF.
Look out into deep space away from the sun. It's the darkest black you can imagine.
Hey, space boy, you broke my rocket man heart.
Okay, so I want to stop here. And thanks to Chief Crow, Space is Fake AF. He played that live for Mick West, who's a believer in fake space. I think most of the gatekeepers are actually believers in it. You know, a lot of them participate in psyops saying how fake the news is, but I think they take for granted everything up there. Like the idealism, it really hooks in when they're young. Another suspected deepfake, I'll have to add him to the list, but if you haven't taken the poll yet, please do. Salty says do a penguin shirt with a monocle, cane, and umbrella. Yeah, not a bad idea. In fact, I have a picture of the one that I did. It's the penguin with the Baron outfit. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, a few new things happened today that I want to catch up on. Obama on the Netflix board of directors. That's interesting, considering how merged this person actually is with entertainment on the sly. And look at this here. We were talking yesterday about, one of the callers brought up how the science fiction and other media predicts the future because it's basically scripting. And he was suggesting we take a look back to see what might be around the corner. And it is curious that, of course, Blade Runner was set in the future being November 2019. And the subject matter deals primarily with deepfakes and a reality subverted by deepfakes. And also, this is the Tesla vehicle that was just unearthed the other day. And pretty much a match. So whoever found this is a great find. Tom Hanks figured out he's related to Mr. Rogers. And I also heard that Mr. Rogers is related to Ed McMahon. I have to double check that. Okay, everything we know about Disneyland's mysterious Secret Club 33. So this was opened right after Disney's death in 1966. So we'll look into Club 33 as well. Now check this out. The only reason why I even look at this ridiculous article is because it's from TMZ. And basically it's this. A Dutch Christmas parade draws outrage, protesters over blackface. So apparently in the Netherlands, Santa has a helper named Blackface Pete. And so people dress up as Blackface Pete. And I guess it's just makeup, but this has drawn outrage. So the SJWs are out here protesting. TMZ's reporting this. So they're all about this manufactured outrage. And so this it's worth pointing out because if anyone was to be interested in the story of Justin Bieber and Miley Cyrus and the roles that they play, you'd think that it'd be front page on TMZ. And this kind of suggests to me that TMZ is definitely in the know on all these things. Yeah, I agree. Salty says they look more like Broccoli Man, that climate activist. Yeah, it's just ridiculous, but it's just traditional costumes. Okay, so a Mandela affected individual called in yesterday, and I decided to kind of address some of the things that he brought up. And here's what I came up with. Well, I didn't come up with this. I found this. I researched it. All of the possible explanations for ME. And I also find it interesting that, like many cults, Mandela effect has become an acronym. Like once I started hearing about FE, I'm like, whoa, it's now a cult, FE. And then you got ME for the Mandela affected, or just the affected. There's even music, Mandela affected music, like music about the Mandela effect. So it's becoming something. But it's also worth asking too, and I'm going to have to do a mind map. Are some of these belief systems mutually exclusive? So, for example, can you be a Mandela affected mudflooder? Or does mudflood rule out Mandela effect? I would contend that you cannot be a biblical mudflooder. And the reason why I say this is that the Bible and Bible literalism rules out the mud flood because it's not in the Bible. And Revelations has nothing to do with mud floods. So, sorry, you can't be a biblical mud flooder, but you can be a Mandela affected Bible literalist, which is interesting in itself because many Mandela effects have to do with the Bible itself changing, as though that's never happened, as though it's not always changing, as though the Bible's not the most subjective book ever published. I also find it fascinating that when faced with facts that contradict their misperceptions or misremembered facts or whatever you want to call it, Mandela effects, they can always back up onto one thing. Well, in my reality, this is what happened. So it always comes down to that. The one person perceiving it can retreat into, it's my word against the universe. It's all about me, is what it comes down to. And I thought, well, it does really descend down a really steep slope, like almost off a cliff into just pure solipsism, or narcissism, whatever you want to call it, where you really become the center of your own universe. It's all about me. I thought about making a Mandela Effect t-shirt that says that. It's all about me. The universe doesn't revolve around me because I think it's flat and stationary, but it reorders itself around me. And not you because you're a zombie and an NPC. Anyway, I didn't want to continue on this topic too much, but I'm just asking which ones are mutually exclusive, because if you're going to go down the mud flood road, you have to drop your Bible because your history is now being truncated and you can't trust anything that's published. It's very problematic. But you can be, like I said earlier, I think you can actually be a biblical biblical Mandela affected flat earther and a biblical Mandela affected globe earther. See, here's the thing. Mandela effect is actually more globe friendly than not. Hold on, Steve says, are you guys following the standoff in New York State? Okay, so I'd have to assume it's a hoax. Nobody died or cried. Nobody will die. And you won't see any tears. Is there a New York State strong hashtag yet that's trending? Has anyone tweeted about it yet? Is the media reporting secondhand accounts of people having read tweets about people saying that they heard pop, pop, pop? I mean, we know what they're doing. Let's get back to the topic. It's all about me, the Mandela effect. Let me go ahead and fill you in. Freedom West Coast, he says, what standoff? There's a staged event happening in New York because every Black Friday, every weekend before Thanksgiving, they give us a big event because they know a whole lot of people are going to be inundated with newspapers and news because they're at the airports, they're sitting around with family, bored, watching TV, and now they can all be propagandized. You're a target right now. Thirst for Truth says Mandela denial is illegal in 33 states. I found out yesterday, and this was something that I wasn't expecting, but I'm not surprised by it. I found out that the Mandela affected do have a doomsday. And just like how if you don't agree with the Christian doomsday and you laugh at it, they say, well, I can't wait till God strikes you down, because when you're burning in hell, I can laugh at you from heaven. They look forward to that day so they can just mock and scoff because, you didn't listen. You didn't believe them. Well, the Mandela affected are the same way. They say, well, wait until one hits you. And so the guy I was talking to said, you just wait until someday you wake up and the McDonald's no longer has golden arches, and you'll know how we feel. And he said that when the whole thing becomes exposed and when everyone realizes they're affected, the whole world's going to go into chaos. And he said he will be, quote, nana booing me. He actually said that. And I'll be up here, nana booing. Like, who the hell does that? It's like, I thought God touched you on the shoulder and said, hey, here's a secret to the universe. It's all shifty. I thought these people were like blessed by the creator of the universe, the architect or whatever. You're now Neo, and you're still like, having these childish reactions to people you disagree with. Crazy Flat Lady says, what's the legal age of consent to be mandoozled? I don't know if they teach Mandela effect in the schools yet. It wouldn't surprise me, though. They probably wouldn't have a problem with it. They could probably teach it in the universities. And I think it's the perfect excuse. You should have a book. I was actually thinking about selling a booklet of just, blank Mandela, all-inclusive excuses, where you just sign it and you hand it to the officer. Oh, was I speeding? The sign's changed. I've been Mandela'd. You hand it to your professor. I didn't have the paper on time. Well, my calendar's changed. You just hand him your Mandela excuse. Because that's really what it is. You could never get anything wrong if you want to just claim Mandela effect. Just claim that reality revolves around you. It's dangerous, is what it is. And they are going down this route where they didn't believe Ed McMahon worked for American Family Publishing. They claim they researched it. They didn't. When somebody pointed out these commercials hiding right there in plain sight, they said those didn't exist before yesterday. It was like, instead of just breaking away from the Mandela effect, they doubled down and they said, no, it's even worse. There's been this new upload of previously unseen or possibly deep-faked Ed McMahon videos flooding into YouTube just to make us look crazy. And one person would suggest that nonsense, and then two, and then three, and the more of them that were agreeing with it, the more they seemed comfortable even saying it, like it wasn't completely preposterous. So, it's just, to me, it's just comedy at this point, and to those of us who are paying attention. Clearly, the CIA's having a laugh at everyone's expense. I think they threw in the Fruit Loops one just to make you say stuff that they can laugh at. That's my honest opinion. And you're welcome to prove me wrong, prove me incorrect here, but there are only 3 words that you need right now to discredit any Mandela effect. If somebody says, it used to be this, now it's this, 3 words can discount any one of them, just using the rules of logic. And it's cool story, bro. Because any extraordinary claim that is not accompanied by evidence can be dismissed without evidence. So cool story, bro, really can save you a lot of time. It's like Jehovah's Witnesses. You got to slam the door in their faces. With the MEs, you got to just put on your mask. Crazy Flat Lady says, Fruit Loops was an off-brand, no mystery. Oh, that's all. So your parents were cheapskates and they were buying you the generic stuff. And now that you've grown up and you know the difference, you're like, okay, so that's what it was. Your parents scammed you out of the good Fruit Loops. And now you're having cognitive dissonance 25 years later. Like, cry to your parents about it. Like off-brands. Do they not know about off-brands? It's like dope. Okay, so here are the different theories. I'll have to make a new section here for off-brands. Damn. Okay, you have occult theories, which this is what you can blame it on. Satan, black magic, magical beings, celestial beings. Then you have end of the world theories, Mayan calendar 2012, go ahead and cross that out. Apocalypse, purgatory, rapture. Simulation, alien simulation, computer simulation, multiverse. Alternate realities, and then you have the multiverse. Parallel universes and overlapping universes. Unique universal perception. Now, unique universal perception is the ultimate me, where you are the center. We all are centers of our own universes, and they all overlap. Now, this is pretty much just pure subjectivism. And of course, the facts don't support that whatsoever. Then you have science theories: CERN, mind control, rogue governments, accidental side effects, time travel and aliens, rogue scientist. Okay, so the rogue scientist is like Elon Musk did it. Somewhere Elon Musk is over there at CERN tinkering around and he totally screwed things up. Then you have quantum universe theories, big quantum, small quantum. And then finally, and this is the one that they will consider to be least likely out of all 9 of them. And that would be, and 9, that's if you include off-brands, like Fruit Loops with an OO. Memory theories: crowd memory influence, common memory errors, false memory, recall. So there you go, crowd memory influence, which is a big one. They don't have interrogator bias, but it's part of this. So I go along with memory theories out of all of these. Exactly, thirst for truth. No wonder they're losing their minds. And so they say, I'm going crazy. Fruit Loops used to have 2 O's, now it has a UI. So they're legitimately going crazy because they have a recollection. They remember it that way. And they're running into this wall here. And they happen to take one of these rabbit trails, which is now, it's up to them to decide to come back. But what's interesting here is, usually when someone is wrong, they tend to correct course. But what we have instead is a whole lot of people have been misdirected, and this is why we call it the misinformation effect. So many people have been misdirected at the same time that they actually found themselves in an echo chamber where they say to each other, whoa, we can't all be wrong. No, something's up. So the more of them that arrive, the more they reinforce it. They say, no, trust me, you're right. Even though you're wrong, we're right. There's no way we're all wrong. And then they form a group, and now they are the affected. And they actually defend each other. They form basically a circle, a protective boundary, and their numbers are growing. And they continue to mystify their misremembrances, and no one disagrees with anybody else. And they were purposefully steered here. It was a purposeful maneuver, and I think it was done by the CIA, deliberately crazy making. And don't tell me that's out of bounds, because the same people who believe in Mandela effect and every other conspiracy believe in MK Ultra. So if you believe in MK Ultra, what makes you think they wouldn't use the well-known interrogator bias and misinformation effect to corral a bunch of you into accepting the idea that you live in a simulation? I mean, that's what it looks like to me. You know, kind of like with religions, where if they can convince you, because so many people saw it, that this guy rose from the dead and you can live forever. Like, that's a bold promise. Oh, you're promising eternal life? I'm in. And this Mandela effect is promising, glimpses, of course. Now, of course, anything having to do with the Mandela effect is going to lead, even if the flat faction of the ME affected, even if they don't want to admit to it, it does in fact tie into quantum universe theories, double slit experiments, and all the things that validate fake nukes. all intentional effects, if you ask me. So you'll see who falls into that trap. If anybody thinks this picture of Greta is real, how do you know? Because some people say, no, this is a real picture, it just happens to look like her. No way. This is obviously fake. And I'm thinking now, maybe at this point, since it's indistinguishable, it really is a matter of trust. So this might be a test to see, gauge public trust. Do you trust this news outlet when it provides you with a preposterous picture? And they did an informal poll, in fact. And they found that 75% of the people who looked at it at first said it's got to be fake. But then they were told it was real, and so they said, okay, well, I guess it's real. But my point is their initial reaction was to call it fake. And I think this was done as a test. Yeah, exactly. Greta and Barron, time travelers, Uncle Joe Trump in Tesla's papers. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But it's believable to them. Although someone suggested to me that, and I agree for some reason, it kind of does seem to be that Melania is a little masky. I'm not going to make any suggestions as to who's behind it, but I don't know. Does anybody here not agree with that? I mean, you can make excuses. You can say it's makeup. You can say it's poise, but there's a certain quality of what I would describe as a maskiness. And those of us who are looking, it's almost like you become a little more acutely aware of micro expressions when you know you're looking at somebody who might be covering theirs up. Okay, check this out. Student protest on field. So a bunch of these climate change fanatics have just stormed the football field. Yale and Harvard are complicit in climate injustice. Look at the terminology, climate injustice. I mean, clearly what we're looking at here is Marxism. Social justice.
Currently going on in New Haven, Connecticut, is in a delay over on ESPNU. There are protesters on the field attempting to bring more attention to climate change. Lots of protesters on the field inside the Yale Bowl. Harvard leading a very consequential game in the Ivy League.
So there you go, a bunch of eco-terrorists squatting on a field. I mean, they should be fined. I mean, I don't care. I mean, obviously there's some complicity within, I think. I mean, someone let this happen, I'm sure. I believe they left peacefully, but the point is, climate injustice. What is climate injustice? Come on. It's simply this. The Marxist struggle changed from rich versus poor to polluters versus clean energy. And of course, polluters equals capitalist. It's you're a capitalist. Especially if you're there eating popcorn, having soft drinks with plastic straws. I mean, they're just there to say, shame on you. They're the new church ladies. A bunch of church ladies just running onto the field. And I've made this comparison, this analogy before. If the Westboro Baptist Church started marching around your town, shutting down your events, demanding that you tithe to their church because of your sins, you would tell them to get lost. Yeah, Ivy League protests. Then you have these climate scientists who come out. They behave like a bunch of rampant doomsaying church ladies. And what do people do? They fork over their money. It's absurd. It's pathetic, in fact. Now again, we were adopting flat universers as our moniker, as something we could defend because it's just an extension of infinite Earth theory. But everyone's hitting back. They don't want us to have our infinite flat universe. So look at this. This is from Forbes. Could the shape of our universe be closed instead of flat? They are killing flat universe. So now we live in a donut universe. We have our hypertorus model of the universe. Motion in a straight line will return you to your original. Let's go through this. Okay, so it is expanding farther than our most powerful telescopes can see. Lies. No, I'm just kidding. We're just going to take them at their word, okay? It says here, the part that we can see, scientists have long concluded, is indistinguishable from being perfectly spatially flat. That's been the conventional wisdom for a long time. But a few weeks ago, a new paper, it's from nature.com, used the latest data from the Planck satellite to draw the opposite conclusion that the universe is not flat, but may be closed. I mean, this is Forbes basically saying, okay, it was flat, and then Infinite Plane Society has been using Research Flat Universe. They're making flat universe arguments. We can't let them have it. So they just literally changed the shape of the universe itself. So now we live in a big ball. Isn't that something? I mean, the solar system's still flat. Yeah, the universe is a big donut. Okay, finally, I found this one. Everything we know about the mysterious Club 33. This is at Disneyland. It opened in 1967. I'm not quite sure what it is. We had a caller the other day who's a huge fan of Walt Disney. Did you hear that guy? Huge fan. He was like, yeah, I believe in Walt Disney. I think he had everything right. I'm willing to fight for his homeland. Like, he was really into Disney. Adolf Hitler, excuse me. I get the two mixed up. Okay, so if you want to get into Club 33, let's see, you've got Elton John, Tom Hanks, Christina Aguilar. I'm looking for common denominators, like, is it a club for deepfakers? Mickey Mouse is a deepfake. Okay, new Club 33 members will enjoy exclusive sneak peeks at park enhancements, new attractions. See, what I want to know is, if you get into Club 33, are they going to show you the simulated spacecraft that they're going to use to send dupes to Mars, and they're actually going to end up at some potato farm in China? Are they going to find out the real purpose of Disneyland and why Von Braun was chilling with Walt? Anyway, it just looks like a place for Disney fanboys. Oh, but here we go. This is interesting, and this is in Yahoo News. I don't know if that was meant to be in there, but looks like somebody at Club 33 had an interesting ring. What is that? Could it be Satan? And then you have the Mason thing. Very Masony. Okay, anyway, phones are open, 505-510-4226. This morning we covered a number of different things. I don't mean to keep harping on the ME, but I'm trying to figure out, is there any consistency here? There are some things that do rule out other things, and people want to pretend like that's not the case. And there's a certain level of consistency you ought to have. Like, this is my issue with Bible Earth or Quranic Earth or any mystical revelation. The issue with any of these books that say that their facts come from revelation is you have people who are mixing science when it suits them, or the language of science. But then when it doesn't, they default to their divine fallacy or their Bible. Marty says, didn't the early Disney Mickey Mouse cartoons have racist stuff in them? Wouldn't surprise me. Infinite Plane Radio. Hey, caller. Do you have any particular theory out of the 9 that we've come up with for what would explain the ME?
No, is this live?
Oh, yeah.
Hello?
Oh, yeah, we're live right now as far as on YouTube and DLive.
Yeah, okay, this is Harmon again, Walker. Hey, just real quick on that Greta thing you were talking about just a few seconds ago. Has anyone looked at the possibility that's the same person, that it's just a doctored picture, that she's an actress and she could just be playing the actress of an autism person right now?
Ooh, that's really good. That's actually probably fairly likely now that I think about it. How would we know?
That's the only point I would make. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think she's just an actress. She's playing a good part. I mean, they're all actresses. You got to think of it, and she's just playing a great part.
You know what? I would say that if my objective was to make this person an icon, I would plant little miracles like this everywhere because you know that deep fakes like this, or rather dumb fakes like this, are known to propagate without any critical rebuttal whatsoever for months, maybe years. This will stick.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking on that picture you got there. That's really her. I mean, come on. Your eyes don't lie. You know, so it's just she's just an actress. They use her. I wonder what else she's been in.
Right, I know, as though it's like beyond the realm of possibility that somebody would lie and fabricate a photo. I mean, people ought to not suspend judgment. It's not an eerie coincidence. It's fake as can be.
Right. And she's just one of the actresses they used. Who knew she was going to get this big part right now?
Right, good point. You know what? That's not bad. You're right about that. And as far as her overall message, what do you think about this climate change? Do you think it's just a new God-fearing...
No, it's garbage. It's always garbage. Come on. What did they start with? I remember when I was a kid, they started with the ozone, then they went from global warming and melting, whatever fits their budget.
Right.
It's 100% fake.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I see these environmentalists storming the football field and trying to make a point. Climate injustice.
Wasn't that funny today?
It's pathetic. It's weak, honestly. Like if they don't intimidate anybody. Yeah.
No, I would like to see how organic that was. That wasn't organic at all. Are you kidding me?
I don't think so either. I think most of them are paid, and then there's dupes. And I don't know what the ratio is. I think you just need 1 or 2 agitators per 10 dupes, and then you buy some crowds on demand types. Easy.
Yeah, that was the Harvard game today. Harvard Yale game. Yeah, it was crazy. Did you see that today?
Yeah, I was watching the video, and I'm just like, these people are eco-fascists, and this idea of climate injustice, like, what a malappropriation of a term. What do they mean, climate injustice? And
they don't even believe it.
No, I don't think so either. I think there are true believers there, but for the most part, no, it's just political posturing. It's virtue signaling.
The true believers aren't out there screaming. The true believers, whoever they are, they don't go out there. They're not going out there and screaming and going in the middle of a football field. Are you kidding me?
Okay, so really quick, I've been making this point, and I've been challenged on this point a few times. I've been saying, if you believe we're on a globe, you have no right, or you're in no position to deny global warming, because the science is coming from the same corrupt sources. Do you think I can make that point?
100%, because if everything's based on the lie, then everything from the lie is a lie.
There we go. So if you're going to accept the globe, you got to deal with global warming, and you're just a denialist if you don't believe in it.
Right, because you have to believe everything they believe, from the Big Bang on until whatever else. There's second gravity, dark holes, and warp space, and all that stuff. You have to believe it all. You have to believe in monkeys, that you came from monkeys. That's what gets me. The Christians who believe and say that they believe in non-evolution, well, that's the whole ball theory.
Yep, I agree with you 100%. And you know what? It's the same thing. You can't say there's no angry streak in God. You have to know God's a punishing God. If you don't believe that, then you're being selective about your book. And it's the same thing with the globe thing. So if you believe we're on a ball, you need to believe in global warming. And the fact that you don't means you're a bad person.
And you have to believe in evolution also.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It all together. All goes together. So these Christians saying they don't believe. I said, how can you pick and choose? Either you believe it's a ball and you believe it in evolution, or you don't. Oh, they get so mad when you tell them that. Oh, they don't like that.
Oh, yeah, these lukewarm globies and their cherry picking of scientific data. They don't want to worry about the asteroids coming because they're having No, it's like, no, come on. You guys are the ones who believe in this stuff. At least be consistent.
I'm talking about I was raised real hard Christian. I'm saying talk about the Christians who say it's a ball.
Oh yeah, that's another. You're right about that. They have
to say it's a ball in evolution. It goes together, and so that's what I'm saying. All the Christian friends I had growing up, they know we didn't come from monkeys. Well, your whole theory comes from monkeys. If you live on a ball, then you came from monkeys.
Good point. Okay, I see where you're coming from, and yeah, this is what I've been looking for. I'm looking for points that you can hold people to. Like one reason why I say you can't be a biblical literalist mud flooder is because you can't, because the Bible doesn't have the mud flood in it.
Yeah, where's the Bible? They sit there and try to pick out the flat Earth in the Bible and whatever they want to say, but they can't find the mud flood yet. But they might find it somewhere. Who knows?
Well, they have to reach to extra biblical works like the Apocrypha to explain their stuff. And I'm saying, if you've got to reach outside the book, then it's no longer literal. I mean, they can't pick and choose.
They did because, like, when God's supposed to be this loving God, but yet He killed all the firstborn babies that didn't have blood over the roof of their marking. But God's supposed to say children are innocent and perfect in His sight, but yet He killed them. Okay, where's that at? Well, that was the Old Testament. Oh my goodness.
Okay. One more question for you. Okay, so what's more consistent with the Mandela-affected world, spinning ball or flat Earth?
Well, they have to believe in the spinning ball.
The Mandela affected, I believe so too, because flat Earth is all about absolute stationary plane. The spinning ball model, nothing's absolute, everything is relative, and everything bends and curves, and you have the magic of gravity, and multiple realities is all part of that system.
Yeah, this is what I forgot to tell you last night, is when I don't like using the word gravities, I don't like using the word like that, because they all came from a comic book world. You might as well say kryptonite. It's the same thing. Gravity, in their sense, is just as real as kryptonite is. It's all from comic book worlds, and they can make it do whatever they want it to do.
Yeah, that's right. It's the divine fallacy. And hey, really quick, we're looking at the picture of these eco-fascists, and where they're bought and paid for. And so, you know what you call bought and paid for activists? You call them astroturfed because it's fake grassroots. So it's astroturfed eco-fascists squatting on astroturf.
I'm looking at your picture right there. It's funny as hell. I laughed so hard when I saw that today. And these are your high-class, rich kids going to school.
Oh yeah, they're so virtuous with their signs, and they're interrupting a game, which is like iconic American pastime. So virtuous and bold, right? Clowns.
You know why they had to go there in the Ivy League? You ain't going to get that in the SEC or Pac-10. They wouldn't do that. You'd have to really pay them a lot. These kids, that's the only place you could probably get it was the Ivy League.
Well, this is
you're going to get as much of Alabama fans go out there and do that. And when they go back stands, they're going to get their butt kicked.
Yeah, it does seem like really safe right there. Like, I'm surprised the ref isn't handing out coloring books and crayons.
Right. It was a safe zone there. The Ivy League is a safe zone on that.
Yeah, everything about this says safe space. Like, I'm wondering too, like in my imagination, I'm like, how come those football players aren't like carrying them off the field, kicking and screaming? Is this not America? It's not.
They're higher educated than us. Don't you realize they're already the elite?
Yeah, this just shows you the elite.
Already the elite.
They're capitulating to the troll flakes.
You couldn't do it in an Alabama game. Trust me, you couldn't do it.
No, this is a good point because, for example, when we were looking at that group in Europe that were protesting, I think they were called Climate Chaos something. Anyway, they were gluing themselves to airplanes and climbing on top of subway trains, and people were yanking them down, like roughly. The mob wasn't having it. The real working class who needed those buses and those subways to get to work, they weren't having it, and they dragged those people off the roof.
I've seen them get out of the cars and kick their butt. I've seen it.
I know. I'm like, I wish I was there. And then I'm thinking about it, and it's like, you know what? Even though we see these spectacles going down day and the public clearly doesn't like it, they're still winning because we're still paying taxes for climate change. We're still paying for a lot of these things. You're still paying for the ozone layer hole, which doesn't exist.
So just on that thing, you said they were kicking their butt over there in Europe when they did that crap. You imagine where would they go sit back in the stands if they're going to interrupt an Alabama game for 40 minutes? Are you? It ain't going to happen. You're not going to enter. The fans would have come down there and drug you guys off the field.
unless I don't know if this will happen. See, this is the problem I think they're going to run into, and the reason why I'm not worried about real societal chaos is they have the youth being riled up against the old. So they have the right attitude, but then they also program these kids to fear guns. So we can't have a youth rebellion because all these climate change hysterics, these eco-fascists are also gunophobes. So they will never represent any kind of threat except in the voting booth. So they rely on a lot of drama to try to get votes because, they'll never force anything.
I just think it's a lot of camera work and angles and stuff. There's not that many people really. They just keep showing it at angles and stuff, and there's this many people, and there isn't that many people involved in it. They want it to grow, and they've been trying to grow since 50, 60 years. It's just not going to grow. I mean, it's entertainment.
I think you're right. The commies the commies have been defanged. When they became environmentalists, I think they took their claws off. And yeah, for all we know, these could be CGI crisis actors.
Yeah, that's all they are. That's it. Anyway, that was my point about Greta, though.
Well, hey, from now on,
same person.
I think I'm just going to start calling crisis actors CGI so I can avoid getting hit with hate speech. Oh, don't worry, that guy's just CGI.
We can't say that. I shouldn't say that, should I? I apologize.
We'll just call them CGI from now on. All right, man. Hey, thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Okay, phones are open. 505-510-4226. Okay, so let's continue. Yeah, we're looking these climate protesters running across a football field. AstroTurfed eco-fascists squatting on the AstroTurf. No resistance. Look at this. No resistance whatsoever. It's like, let's give them a safe space. Let the eco snowflakes just interrupt everything. It's to me, this is pathetic.
To bring more attention to climate change. Lots of protesters on the field inside the Yale Bowl. Harvard leading a very consequential game in the Ivy League. Protesters on the field attempting to bring...
Nobody wins. Oh, I get it now. Nobody wins. Yale and Harvard are complicit in climate injustice. Like, isn't this enough that they don't have real grass anymore? Like, the fact that they have AstroTurf here in the first place should say, hey, look, we kind of won. Like, what else do you want? Take away their water breaks? Reduce the water intake of the players? Like, what else could they possibly do, to reduce their carbon footprint? I mean, they'll never stop. They will never go move to some big commune and have their perfect society. Like, please, go move into a dome somewhere. I would like it if the environmentalists would just stop being hypocrites. Go build yourself a dome in the Mojave. It's even a more hospitable environment than Mars. And build your perfect society. Go underground even. None of us would complain. I wouldn't. Joe Santos says they're probably from the same frat as Anderson Cooper's son. Yeah, Anderson Cooper's another one of these CNN types. We were looking at this today where Charles Jaco, in his coverage of the Persian Gulf War, was faking like a Scud missile hit. And he puts on his gas mask, but no one else does. The cameraman doesn't. Just so fake. But that doesn't shake anybody. And I noticed something very disturbing today. Like, disturbing in the sense of, I think that they might have checkmated us on one issue. We're going to find out. Okay, so we've been looking at this phenomenon of shadows beneath the ISS, which should not be. So here we are in heaven, looking down at the Earth from the ISS. And let me scroll back a bit. Here's what I found. Earlier today, I was just scrolling through to see, okay, are we still looking at the same problem where the ESA puts a smudge on the screen, no, I'm sorry, a shadow on the screen to indicate the ISS's shadow. And, of course, we've established a pattern. And every time you see the ESA's footage where the ISS is between, here we go, the Earth and the Sun, it does have a shadow right where you would expect it to be. I'm quickly going through 8 hours of footage. I'm just scrolling through it as fast as I can. And I know the camera angles where I can predict it will be there. And I did this earlier today. I found a shadow, but it was even bigger than the last one. Which is like, wait, It's so big, it's almost like too big of a shadow. And I thought, wait, on the new footage, are they enlarging it on purpose? Are they deliberately making it look like a smudge? Is it a joke? Like, in other words, are they trying to obfuscate? So yeah, Smudgegate shook Reds, right? I heard Fight the Flat Earth was going to quit over it. I heard that Daphne rage quit and cut her hair. That was over Kappa, not Smudgegate, but I bet if Fight the Flat Earth had hair, he would have cut it off. He would have sat in the bathtub with a bottle of wine, raged against the machine, and chopped off his locks. Because it's dramatic. Okay, I'm trying to find you the smudge, and it's there, I swear. It's like that game, and this is the other guy. It's from the Institute of Ninja Technology, where he was also finding these things. I think he's a subscriber to this channel now. He's the one who likened this to Where's Waldo, but the game is this. You just got to find footage where it's between... Oh, look at the sun. Tell me the sun doesn't look like a spotlight, a stage light. Does anyone here think that's the sun? Yeah, a bigger smudge. You're going to see. Give me just a moment. Okay, here we go. On this angle, we should see one. Wouldn't surprise me. This is... It's not the usual one, but I think I found it. I think I found the shadow. I have the cursor pointing at it. It makes sense. It's higher up than it usually is, but that's just the angle. I'll see if I can find the one that I found earlier today. But it was just overdone, and it kind of made me wonder, are they flaunting it right now? Now, I'm going through 10 hours of footage. Excuse me here if it takes me more than 2 or 3 minutes, but I will find you. Okay, so see one here. Okay, this is it. So on some of the footage, I am finding the shadow smaller than in others, and here I do see it. It consistently tracks with the space station. Now, I don't mean to get lost in this, but my contention is that the artist who created this wanted to put their fingerprints on it in some way. Out of just, I suppose, legacy, ego, they're proud of their work. Like Da Vinci, writing himself into his paintings in some way, painting himself into the story. And I think there's something similar here. So this is some type of Da Vinci Code thing. Some artist has just tagged himself in here. Maybe he's a secret flat earther. I'm going through comments. Somebody says the chat's in the way. If it's blocking it, I haven't found it yet. Just give me just a moment. It's taken longer than usual to find it. Usually it takes... I found a couple, but there's one that was exceptionally pronounced today. But as I was saying, the people who usually debate against the flat earth, the ones who do it for money, the earth-shaped field agents, they won't touch this. I don't know what they're doing. They're probably awaiting instructions, but as minor as it sounds, it's probably one of the biggest glitches that they have given us so far out of everything. It's not an exaggeration. I have a close-up image for you, and then we'll move on. Right now, I'm obsessed with the ISS's shadow. I feel like this is the thing that will bring it down. And they don't have a good argument against it. In fact, someone was looking at the green screen defects, and some of them look like they were intentional. They look fake. Like fake defects. Okay, there we go. I'm circling the shadow. I mean, it's remarkable. And it would be there. So if you create a 3D ball, a 3D surface, and you put the light source in that 3D environment and you put an object in between, it will give you a shadow. And that shadow is something that you would generally delete, depending on how far, of course, and what you're simulating. So what it looks like here is they failed to delete or turn the transparency up on that particular layer. And of course, this analysis of the shadow of the ISS ignores the bigger picture, which is we're also looking at a big CGI ball. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, that's kind of the funny thing, is that even though we sit here and we talk about, is that a shadow, is it not? The whole thing's fake. But the shadow is the thing that is logically inconsistent, that no matter how real you made it look, the existence of a shadow would invalidate it. And that's the reason why I think it's a big deal. I think the lack of emotion blur is also a big deal, but so I'll be bringing it up every day until someone does something about it. I mean, why would we let it go? Okay, the toll casual space tourism will take on the planet. We'll look at that. Apparently going to space isn't green. There's some drama being ginned up at the Marathon store where the big obelisk is going. Not sure if I'm going to pay attention to that. It's also scripted. We probably should, though. We should comb the crowd, see if we see any familiar faces. Jennifer says the space station stays completely level. Doesn't even bob a little. You know why? It's actually skirting off of the residual atmosphere. That's what they say. It's actually skirting off the residual atmosphere. And if it gets too low or it starts slowing down, they send basically one of these supply ships comes up and it gives the ISS a boost. But it is very, very level, and so was the Starman car. Very level. Okay, so when I talk about Scooby-Doo justice, I'm describing events that are supposed to be real, but they're obviously fake. Like, you wouldn't have a crime solved this fast in this short span of time. All the facts wouldn't come out, the guilty parties, the motives, and everything. It wouldn't be solved that fast. And so I've taken to calling it Scooby-Doo justice. But I also think we're experiencing a bit of Looney Tunes physics. So the way that the Starman remains level is that the internal gyroscopes, all spinning around in a coordinated way, orient it in zero gravity. And then of course it's assisted by little boosters. So the idea that a rocket or a car can orient itself with gyroscopes while floating in space and little boosters, that it's pushing off nothing. The gyros are spinning in nothingness. So the idea that it can orient and move around, that's like video game stuff. It's what I call Looney Tune physics, because it's kind of like the coyote. He's running off a cliff and his legs are pedaling really fast, his feet are moving really fast, and he keeps going, and as long as he doesn't look down and realize the absurdity of what he's doing, how he's defying the laws of physics, he can stay up there in the air all day. And usually what happens, the way the gag works, is he runs halfway across the cliff, or across the chasm, right off the cliff, and then he looks down, and then his eyeballs pop out, and then he falls and he dies, or he splats. The point is, he was defying reality until the moment he realized it. And that's what the ISS is doing. That's what the Tesla Roadster's doing. That's what the Hubble's doing. It's all Looney Tunes. They all are basically a bunch of coyotes pedaling their feet. And if you look at the inside, these satellites, they all look like washing machines with a couple screen doors attached to the side. That's a lot of empty space. You could have a coyote in there. A little Acme employee just running in place. No, it's total nonsense. It's cartoons. The real function, if at all, would be served by balloons if they needed it from up there. I mean, come on. But the public believes that there are giant diamonds in the sky to be harvested and mined, so we can all be trillionaires. And here is Kanye Christ with his arms out in the Osiris pose being worshipped in the middle of the Eye of Horus in some type of Illuminati ritual. How many of you saw this? Kanye West in his Sunday service show performed with an Illuminati all-seeing Eye of Horus stage at Lakewood Church to a sold-out crowd. Let's take a look. And by the way, speaking of sold out, Dave Chappelle had a comedy thing called Sold Out recently. And I remember the picture where he's standing in front of the sign, sold out, and the phrase seems to have this double meaning. And a lot of people thought that he was cloned. Anyway, the new theory is that he was actually wearing some type of a bodysuit to start giving the impression he's actually heavier than he is. We can get into that later. But Dave Chappelle may be deep faking it, which is a whole nother level to the deception. Okay, so Kanye West in a Sunday service performed with the Illuminati all-seeing Eye in Lakewood. Let's take a quick listen here. Oh, there's a globe behind him. It sounds like from that movie Omen. You know, with the kid with the 666 on his head, and bad things happen to everybody around him. Yeah, this is like the Antichrist theme song. Is Kanye West the Antichrist? Look at that, right at 33 seconds, it goes straight over to the all-seeing Eye. Okay, let's see. It says every Hollywood and music superstar claims association with the Illuminati, Freemasonry, OTO, or Church of Satan. They flash occult signs and symbols with their videos in all the films and all the movies. Their favorite recurring symbol is the one-eyed, all-seeing Eye of Horus from ancient Egypt. So here we have a collage of movie posters that have one eye. And this goes way back, 1979. Yeah, let me find that. I did it for you, Damien. That's the scene I'm thinking. Okay, when I think it was the babysitter of Damien jumps out of a window and she screams, "I did it for you, Damien," and they play that song that Kanye West was just being worshipped to. Man, I can't believe I watched that. Such horrible movies back then. I wouldn't watch it again today. Let's get back on topic here. So what we're looking at is a montage of movies that have one eye symbolism on their posters. I don't know if I want to go through all of them. Kind of cliche. I'm more interested in looking at the celebrities making the one eye gesture. You got creep Kevin Spacey. That's Milo Yiannopoulos, right-wing troll with Breitbart, who's a death faker. So he's moving in those circles. And look, they just kind of recycle. these same archetypes. Who's this one? Even Harry Potter. You got Snake from Escape from LA. I think I see River Phoenix, but River Phoenix is a death faker. But you all get the point. I'm not going to go through all of them. I don't have time. There's actually 30 minutes here. 30 minutes of celebrities doing this nonsense. So what's with all the politicians? I'm not really quite sure what it means. I mean, if anyone has any answers, sure. Look, there's Jay-Z wearing the Skull and Bones Society on his shirt. Is this all just to sell records? And Bill Nye, who also does the Dr. Spock eyebrows. And, he's a suspected deepfaker as well. There's someone else. There's somebody else who sounds remarkably like this guy, and he's in the company of a known deepfaker, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Let's see what else they have. Speaking of, there's Jay-Z with his Skull and Bones Society thing. Okay, let's continue. This is on the website nowtheendbegins.com. And we're looking at the Lakewood Church, where there's all-seeing eye symbolism being used. And look at this, part of the traveling show. The all-seeing eye at Lakewood is part of Kanye's traveling show. When he is photographed from above, it becomes clear the real message is not what you would think. The all-seeing eye is king. Look at this. So apparently they are doing these big public ceremonies, but instead of the Holy Cross, they're doing the satanic eyeball, the Illuminati eye everywhere, and it's freaking out some of these end timers. I don't think they should be freaked out, because the real symbolism is actually very consistent with the real meaning of Christianity. The dot and the circle. The circle is the goddess, the dot is the god. It represents the same thing as the obelisk, and the sky goddess. It's all just the same symbol, so it's not surprising. Look, the point in the circle. I'll show you what I mean. That's like an old sign of any one of these sun gods, but I'm thinking here that if he's doing the whole Jesus thing and he has his arms out like Osiris, then this is pretty consistent with sun worship. Like one of the old symbols of the sun, and if you look at astrology, the symbol of the sun is the point within a circle. And look at this. The point within the circle was the original symbol of the sun, and this is from Scottish Rite in Sacramento. So this is from a Masonic temple. The point within the circle was the symbol of the sun, and as the lingam of India stood in the center of the lunette, so it stands within the center of the universe, typified by the circle impregnating and vivifying it with its heat. Now this is straight from the source. This is a website called Sacramento's Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. So he's talking about the symbol of the eye. Says it was a symbol that starts from its connection to the ancient mysteries. So we may collect the true history of its connection with the phallus of the ancient mysteries. It was strong among Egyptians as a symbol of the male generative principle. It was communicated from the rites of Osiris to the religious festivals of Greece. So let's move on. But this is the symbol, the point within the circle. You can find many examples of it. It's pretty much universal. So for Kanye West to be employing this type of iconography, really not a surprise. But the truth is, this is what real Christianity is. So I might actually go so far as to say that Kanye West may be the only authentic Christian church out there. Like, he may actually be more authentic than the papacy. Because look at this, on the Green Hill, I don't know, it just seems a little more legit, especially this. Like, they're not even hiding it. Like Osiris, and then, of course, the Savior, the risen Savior, he's crucified and has his arms out. Like, this is not accidental. Anyway, this is from nowtheendbegins.com. And I'm saying, no, it doesn't end. All this means is you're actually seeing some of the esoterica. That's all. But you're not in the club, and so you're not privy to it. So it's really just like, it's kind of in your face, but what are you going to do about it? Although their music does sound like The Omen. Linda says, we are the center of our universe. We create for ourselves, and we procreate. Okay, this is the thing about the toll of casual space tourism. A minute ago, we were talking about Disneyland. And Disneyland already has a number of rides that specifically fake space travel. And to me, it's a question of Occam's razor. What's more likely? What's more likely? That they found insects on Mars last week? Or that they're faking Mars? I mean, even if you go with just conventional science and what they believe, and you take into account what it would require for insects to evolve and to be living on Mars, what's more likely? That that process has already happened given what you already know about Mars, or that they're faking it? I would contend that they're faking it. It's far more likely. It says here, space companies are trying to make off-world tourism a thing, and they will likely cause major environmental destruction in the process. A single SpaceX Falcon 9 emits as much carbon dioxide as 395 transatlantic flights. Don't tell Greta. She stopped flying, and that's just one person. She's not even stopping a flight. Like, how many flights does she have to skip to be the equivalent of stopping one flight? Like, what, 60 or 70? Like, so she's going through this effort of, just quitting. And also it's virtue signaling, because the people who can't afford to fly don't know what they're missing, so they might even side with her not knowing. But look at this here. 395 transatlantic flights. That's a big flight in itself. And that's one launch. Hey, what's up, caller? Go ahead and dim your speaker a little bit. Okay, there we go. What topic are you calling on? We kind of covered a few things, and right now we're talking about space tourism.
The space station?
Well, no, the space tourism. I mean, basically, they're at the point where people are ready to buy tickets to go to Mars or to go around the moon. Do you know?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, do you think people are at the point where they've been softened up sufficiently where they will pay $200,000 to make a lap around the moon?
I don't think regular people would do that, but yeah, rich people would.
I think so too.
I don't think they know the truth about everything, even the rich people.
I certainly don't think so. I definitely think it's an insider-outsider thing, and money's not the issue, or you can't buy your way in if you're not already in. So as far as the whole space program in general, what are your thoughts on it? Is it all just a ruse, or it was just the moon? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked into it, and I mean, you can look up at the sun and know that it's closer. I mean, you can feel it.
What are your thoughts about the space station?
I have never seen the space station go by myself.
Well, that's a
But,
starting
I mean,
point.
I think they can manipulate it any way they want to. They have planes flying all day long.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, where it's almost like the app is enough proof for most people. Oh, yeah, I got the app so I can track it. Oh, it just flew over. But they're sitting on their couch. And it's like, that could be a
Yeah.
Pokemon, for all you know. It's just a Pokemon app repurposed to simulate the ISS.
Yeah, for sure.
But, are the masses going to believe that? I don't think so. And if they're ready to start lining up to go to Mars, I think we've already kind of lost the information war, which I'm not mad about it. I just don't want it to be compulsory.
No, but I mean, I think that if space travel goes to Mars or whatever, sorry about my dog. If space travel goes to Mars, I think it's going to be somewhere here on Earth, like the movie trying to think of the title. Sylvester Stallone was in.
Oh, Sylvester Stallone. Let me think, because I mean,
It was about him leaving the planet, but he was in a simulation.
I'm not sure which one. I mean, I know you have the one with that other meathead, Schwarzenegger,
It was
Total
something
Recall.
Man.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Total Recall. Maybe it wasn't Sylvester Stallone.
Hey, your dog. Somebody says he's a good boy. He said the ISS is fake.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
But yeah, I think so too. I think anything they
It's
can
a
fake.
beagle. It's a beagle, so every time they hear something, they bark.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's an alarm system. But no, as far as this Mars trip and all that stuff, I think they can simulate it long enough to get away with, I don't know, advancing the climate change agenda pretty far and everything else, because that's what I'm noticing is that they're selling the public on this utopian way of life that's called sustainability, and the people living in space, that's the first sustainable society.
Have you ever watched the 4400 on Netflix?
The 4400? No, I'm trying to catch up on Mars. What's the 4400 about?
The 4400 is basically a society of. They're trying to change the world into a better place, and if you're positive or negative for a certain, I can't think of the name of it, but if these people came back in time from the future or whatever, and they're trying to change the whole world into a utopia.
This sounds like Travelers, which was about people going back in time, first to save the world from an asteroid, then from climate change. And the climate change episode is scary. They were like, well, we decided that it's worth...
watched that.
It's like, we'll sacrifice the world now to save the world in the future, where they're like, we can go ahead and starve the multitudes just to preserve the people in the dome who are living sustainably. I mean, it's...
Yeah, and basically that's the way this show went, too, is they're willing to sacrifice deaths, of millions of people to save the planet, to save the world.
Yeah, exactly. And what I'm starting to get is this. What we're seeing, we call them movies, and we think it's entertainment. And I often say that it's entertaining as like a side effect of the brainwashing. But now that I'm looking at these movies and their plots in the context of the broader metascript, it's looking more and more to me like these movies are actually war games. Like they're wargaming situations.
Yeah. I believe that too. It's like they're plotting and planning through the movies, and if people aren't privy to it, then they have no clue.
And of course they think it's real. I mean, it's like, for example, when Geostorm came out, the movie was about firenadoes. which are totally fake. But then, right when that movie came out, they started being hit with fire tornadoes in California. And I was like, wait, if they can get people to accept something as real through the movies, they can ratchet it up on the news media. And the simulation of the world gets a little more chaotic and moves a little closer to the apocalypse they're reaching towards.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I think the fires in California were real. I don't think anybody knows what caused them.
Right. I mean, I tend to think it's just intentional sabotage by neglect by the commies so they could blame climate change. And I do think they'll take advantage of natural disasters anytime they get the chance.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But, okay, so as far as with fake space, we're talking about that. Now, here on the ground, with the crisis actors and the manipulated news and all of that, do you think that there's any way that the public will ever fully appreciate what's going on with the dramas on the ground, or do you think that it's like they've pretty much destroyed the credibility of truthers?
I think they're close to destroying it because I think there's so many people out there in the alternative media that are guardrails, basically, that are just getting everybody to. I mean, it's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's like don't guardrail me, bro. I'm looking at High Impact Flicks, and he's saying, "Oh, the reason why you don't see a shooter isn't because it's fake, but because there was another shooter on a helicopter a quarter of a mile away."
Right, and I watch a lot of these things just to see what they're saying or whatever, and I call them out. I mean, I'm basically a troll on their videos.
Hey, fake is my favorite four-lettered word, and they hate it. You got fake, then you got flat. Hoax is a close third, but really, I think we need to just stick to the basics. People say, don't say flat, it throws people off. It's like, that's why we say it. Don't say fake. Yeah. That's why they took fake. They took fake away from us, that word, intentionally.
Right. So. Yeah, I mean, I think they're doing everything they can to get everybody back on the mainstream media.
Oh, yeah, COPPA. Have you followed that? Yeah. Did you see what Daphne did?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a travesty.
No.
Oh, I posted it earlier. She cut her hair off or whatever.
I
rage quit.
Heard you say that, but I don't watch TV, so I don't know.
Oh yeah, you're not missing anything. It's just there are some YouTube personalities. The only thing they do is once in a while they need attention, so they rage quit to see who's saying don't go, and then they come back and it's hyper dramatic. It's just a narcissistic game. It's just fun to watch. But did you take the poll that I put up at the?
No, I haven't done that yet, but I think I'll do that tomorrow.
Okay, I'm going to drop a link so you can give us your feedback. So anyway, thanks for the call. Anything else crossing your mind?
No, I don't think so.
Awesome.
You have a really good night.
Thank you. Likewise, thanks for the call. So if you want to take the poll, it's right now it's at timosmond.space. I'm trying to decide on a domain name. If any of you have any suggestions. Right now the site's called Deepfake or Not. Remember Hot or Not? We're doing deepfake or not. So basically right now, I've got 4 sets, but after tonight's live stream, I'm going to add about 4 or 5 more. And each one of these is a poll. So 89% of those polled believe that Adam Lanza is deepfaking as David Hogg. That's out of 27 people. Now, when you read the poll, if you want more information, you just hit read more. I built it into a blog this way. So you have the poll. Same thing, but I'll be adding more information, bullet points, arguments in favor of, showing you the height, and other reasons to explain why I would say that, yeah, it makes sense in my world that Lance is a deep faker and he's playing David Hogg. 11% said maybe. I mean, look, we do have a lot of fence squatters, and I'm fine with that. I have a feeling, though, as these articles get fleshed out, we're going to have fewer and fewer fence squatters. I think it'll shift dramatically. So if you want to take the poll, just ask Nightbot for the poll. Right now, it looks, though, like a lot of people are comfortable being ambiguous. Only 73% believe Tupac is deepfaking as Akil, but the 23% are fence squatters. These aren't definitive no's. So take this poll at your leisure. We're going to build this up. We want it to go viral. Okay, next, Skull Asteroid with Astro Blunt. A number of people are asking for the link, and I don't have it specifically anywhere. It's being sold through a third-party site called Society 6. So if you want a copy of this print on anything, it's called Skull Asteroid with Astro Blunt. These are objects that we know to be cartoons, but the true believers in the news think these are real. They believe that that is the first interstellar object, and that that skull-shaped asteroid actually whizzed by the Earth on Halloween in 2017. They believe this stuff. They believe that that backdrop is a photograph of deep space and not a painting. So I've created this deep faked art out of their deep fakes. Here's an example of what it looks like, or what it could look like in your living room. We have it in multiple sizes up to, I believe, 18 by 24. Okay, phones are open. Anything else? Kanye West, Illuminati. And it's all about light and the sun and the luminaries. I mean, Illuminati really is probably the, if you really get down to it, and I think this is a good misconception to clear up. They don't worship the devil. The Illuminati do not only not worship the devil, but they worship Jesus Christ and every Christ archetype rolled into one, including Horus. They smash them all together. So they're not devil worshippers. In fact, the devil is just one character in their pantheon, a necessary evil. He's almost just like Jesus' dark side. But, you know, the dark and the light. And the dark and the light aren't evil and good in that sense. You know, they've just personified nature and nature cycles. So here I see Kanye West, even on Easter, you know, on a stage at the Coachella, you know, crown of thorns draped in purple light. Like, it's pretty obvious what they're doing here. It's just called apotheosis, where on the world stage, they're mimicking and playing the role of Christ. And it's all very much because what they're doing is they're playing into a lot of things. But it's also, I think, a legitimate expression of religious worship. But it's just not the worship of Christianity as you understand it if you're an outsider. We also covered all of the explanations for Mandela effect, including one more. In addition to occult theories, end of the world, transcendental simulation, multiverse, quantum universe, and memory theories, we added to it off-brands. Turns out the off-brand Fruit Loop is spelled F-R-O-O-T. The off-brand. So the off-brand theory also explains the Mandela effect, but as we predicted, the affected are retreating deeper into solipsism, where they say, yes, it's all about me, in my universe. Oh, it's like your universe isn't mine also, we don't share? We're not sharing universes. I don't have value. Am I an NPC? Am I just an actor on your stage? I mean, you can see what it is. It's definitely a formula here for madness. Okay, so is Jeffrey Epstein on the Netflix board of directors? The question of whether former President Barack Obama, aka Jeffrey Epstein, is on the Netflix board of directors sounds like something that would end up on Snopes. But it's true that Barack and, was it Wayne Brady? Just kidding. Barack and Michelle, Barack and Michael signed a multi-year deal here with Netflix to produce original shows. They've been doing TV shows their entire lives. His presidency was a TV show, if you didn't notice. I remember how the right wing would get all pissy about it. Like, oh, look at that, he's demeaning the esteem of the office by going on these late night television shows and laughing. They're constantly saying that. Here's bringing it down. It's like, no, you guys are under the impression that it's somehow elevated above the Hollywood trash. It's not. Okay, let's see what it has here. Yep, it's true. A look at the company information does show the name of the board of directors. Obama's not there, but Susan Rice is. You know, interesting just to see these people crossing these lines, though. I mean, here you have Ambassador Rice to the Netflix board. For decades, she has tackled difficult, complex global issues with intelligence, integrity, and insight. I mean, if you really look at what the mainstream media is, objectively, it's pretty much just a military operation, I think. The aim is, of course, probably mental and intellectual subjugation. I mean, if you think about it, if you're given a false worldview, you've been dumbed down. If they're hiding 90% of what's there, but it's just so vast that I think it's impossible for people to get it, you know, just on the first pass. I mean, you're talking about a conspiracy that is absolutely massive in scale. And the first refutation that people are taught is there's no way that many people could have kept it a secret. I think someone forwarded an argument to me the other day. They said it's kind of like saying Santa Claus, like a kid saying, well, there's no way Santa Claus could be fake. There's no way that all these parents could be lying. And it's kind of naive to think it's impossible or unlikely. And of course, people also are known to be wrong, and indoctrination is all about programming you with wrong information or information that's, you know, in some way biased or something. So it's not necessarily even a matter of getting millions to lie. It's also just a matter of properly indoctrinating people to never know what the truth was. Marty Moose says, yesterday it was reported that Prince Edward was kicked out of Buckingham Palace over Jeffrey Epstein. And these people say, oh, Epstein didn't kill himself. And they say it with a wink, like it means something. Like what? What, did Q tell you something? Q didn't say this would happen. Not to my knowledge. I'm not even sure that Epstein's anything other than a character. And in all likelihood, by what I've seen, he could easily just be another rubber mask or silicone mask. Try to find some information about him. Try to find something substantive. Something where there's any indication that he's anything more than just a character who's made a few appearances here and there. William says, anyone looking into Hillary Clinton's brother, Tony Rodham, who died the day after Epstein's arrest, looks like Epstein in the hospital stretcher photos. Well, let me show you what's wrong with the stretcher photos. And I've gone over this a few times. For one thing, they are 100% giving him moving CPR, which is a no-go. Why are they giving him moving chest compressions? Doesn't make any sense. And what is this guy doing right here? I mean, this is all just so phony. But anyway, if you look closely at his hips, this is a rubber doll. It's a training doll. That's what that is. You would not be giving him chest compressions while walking. And the whole story, of course, is that, you know, he was in the jail. He was in the cell. So how come they're giving him these chest compressions here as they casually mosey on in? And when they're in, they're no longer giving him oxygen. And then these photos are taken from within the ambulance. Within the ambulance? Missing the lower half of his body because he's a CPR training doll. And you can tell by the way the body curves here at the bottom. I mean, it is just a rubber doll. Do you really think that if you worked for an ambulance company, that you could Instagram pictures of a high-profile case like this while he's being wheeled into a hospital room? And if he really was killed, then was he injured and he died later? Or was he dead on the spot? If he was dead on the spot, then what are these guys doing? And they could easily be found out. Someone could call FDNY paramedics and say, hey, who was on duty? Who was in the driver's seat of the ambulance that took this photo? Because the Epstein family might want to sue. This is a serious invasion of privacy. That's how you know this whole photo is faked. So I wouldn't take this all that seriously. Not real. It's like Epstein didn't kill himself. Epstein was never a person. He was always a made-for-TV character. And I don't even need to say who we think played him, to make the point. Jennifer says, a hotel worker I know got fired for taking a picture of LL Cool J. Oh yeah, if you go into a hospital and you start taking pictures of people like this, I mean, I don't know, but same thing with Nipsey. Look, if that was real, how come no one in the family called to say, hey, he died 35 minutes after he left the scene and you guys were doing it wrong? He has 6 holes in his torso and you're doing moving chest compressions, and then you throw him in the back of the vehicle and temporarily pause the chest compressions. BS Hunt says, what channel do we go if we want to go deeper down the rabbit hole? No, actually this channel is post-rabbit hole. You see, rabbit holes, false narratives, those are how they guardrail you. Those are how they prevent you from seeing the fake. So no, if you want to go into the rabbit holes, go back to Alex Jones. And we're here deconstructing the fake. We're not here promulgating conspiracy theory. Fake, fake, fake. Made for TV. These are just the fakest conspiracy theories. This can't be the same one. He wasn't wearing blue. But, the QAnon crowd will just go along with anything. William says, there's better photos than that. No, look, these photos are staged. That's my point. I mean, you can find high-def photos from the moon landing by going to NASA's website. Does that prove anything? No. I'm not even going to give this any kind of real serious scrutiny. If you didn't know, this whole thing was not only staged and fake, but it was made for the political season. Ties into the Me Too drama. The whole thing is highly questionable. And the fact that people don't have the discernment to know that they're being played. And yeah, we could get into the masky nature of it. I mean, if you want to look closer at this character, but clearly the whole thing, headpiece down to the neck and even down lower. This is a mask. Maybe we'll go back into this. We'll have to do a detailed piece on it. Okay, anyway, I'm not going to entertain QAnon stuff. Q is never right about a damn thing. Q doesn't know about crisis actors, nor does Mike Cernovich, nor does Project Veritas. None of the mainstream alternative news outlets or mainstream friendly alternative news outlets or independent journalists know a damn thing about the silicone masks and how they've been used to deepfake us. BS Hunt says, the theory is centered around an idea that media is collectively organized enough to control space, celebrities, and news, which I believe is accurate. The problem is keeping it together with humans. Why is that a problem? Who built it so far? I mean, psyops are a fact of life. William, you can make a reference to Epstein's backstory, which is what the CIA pretty much specializes in. Doesn't prove anything. And Authentic says, where does veganism fall into all of this? Well, here's my question. Where did you find this channel? Because we're on a channel that's pretty much on one thing, deconstructing news media. And then I get various advocates for various causes. Like, I want to save the whales. I want to save the earth. I want to stop circumcisions. I want to abort babies. I want to have everyone quit eating meat. Everyone has their agenda. So why don't you go to a channel that's consistent with your agenda? And that's just because it's to be effective. Like, if you want to be effective in spreading your anti-circumcision message, go talk to young mothers or parents-to-be. I don't think I'm your demographic, so I find it strange that you would pitch that here. That's all. And then, of course, SJW types always have this argument where if you don't agree with what I'm advocating for, you are therefore part of the problem. Oh, you don't believe in climate change? Well, you're a denier. So now I'm somehow victimizing, babies or whatever. I don't think the person's inauthentic, but I find that their focus on single issues is highly suspect. Highly suspect. It's like, wait, you're claiming to be a victim's advocate, but you don't have any victims you can name. You don't have any victims who are saying, yes, this guy stands up for me. He's going to stop those doctors. Like, no, you're just some lone guy. So I find that very, very suspect. You're not involved in any research organization. You're not publishing anything. All very suspect. But at least he didn't add into it something about, the Samoans or whatever. Usually they have a they, which they just kind of throw in. Another staged photo of Epstein. Very masky individual. I mean, look how deep those eyes are in that face. B.S. Hunt, your arguments are ridiculous. Like, yeah, okay, so you're basically arguing from incredulity. Like, I don't believe it could be done. It's not plausible. Like, arguments from incredulity don't mean anything. Not here. Bring something else. Bring something substantive. And part of the deep faking of reality means that these characters are not like crisis actors where they're just fake for a weekend. We're talking about people who have multiple roles that are used over a period of sometimes decades. Look, you can call in, but if you're just going to be a chat troll with incredulity, go find something else to do. We got to save space. For people who can go far enough to entertain hypotheticals so we can make some progress here. If you can't entertain a hypothetical, then you're behind the curve. Because right now, we're talking about deep faking, and everyone's talking about it as a hypothetical. Like, what if? What if it gets this far? And I'm saying, no, they've already been this far. They did it 60 years ago. So it's about time that we start reverse engineering the construct, the world stage. So right now, we're involved in deconstructing the world stage. So I'm not here to handle your incredulity. It's like, no, be incredulous. And then be a totally credulous fool when it comes to the garbage they serve you on TV every night. Be an auto-believing fool. Here's the shadow of the ISS that debunks the whole thing, if you're honest. Try to have an honest believer, in miracles. To be a believer in miracles, I mean, like on this scale, this to me is just sad, but I don't really harp on it in that way. It's like, look, this is faker than anything I can find on Netflix right now. This is faker than anything I can find on Netflix. So if I were to watch Netflix, science fiction, and this side by side, I'd be forced to say, man, this looks kind of fake. I wouldn't pay to watch this, but I'll pay to watch that. But I know this is fake, but those of you who believe it is real, you actually have to endure the cognitive dissonance of being lied to. Joe Saunter says, shout out to Netflix sucking. I actually like Netflix. I mean, it's opposition research, so I can, excuse myself. I don't feel like a hypocrite by watching it, even though I know it's all based on, I know what it is. It's, like I said earlier, they're just wargaming situations. It's preparatory programming. I gave you fair warning earlier. I said, hey, we may just get on over to float.app. So if you don't know what Float.app is, it's just a decentralized streaming service, way different than this, much simpler, censor-free. So if you want to make the leap with us, I won't be giving any warning. Like, I won't be here, and then so basically the only way to get onto our Float.app streams is you have to get on the mailing list, and the link is below. It's $1 per month. I'm trying to get 500 people on board, so we have a pretty big turnout for these live streams. I'm also in the process of moving my content onto Library. I'm taking the advice of Tim Truth channel. And I'll be sending links to those archives to those of you who are members over there. I'll be right back. This is a track by Matty Moses, PGA, MVP, and Symbia. I'll be right back. This is Terra Incognita.
We be the Pequenati, the new Illuminati. We're to free your mind, your soul, and your body. They can't stop me, but they keep on trying to keep denying that they got all of the minds crying on a personal lies as the lies unfold. Truth is sitting around waiting for some truth to be told. But let it be known that we are hoes. Questioning that'll take you out of your comfort zone. I understand, I know there's no dome, but it kinda feels like going right back to the club. While the shepherds like the place to fly, the doomsayers debate about their doomsday clock. Some say a word of culture believers, but how can you know when one doesn't believe this? You can let think, man, you know that's the credo. We keeping that in mind everywhere that we go.
Day after day we open the doors of perception, finding more and more to tame the action. Armed as minds to unlock the hidden answers, interested in research, journalistic freelancers. Having left behind any more specific proposition, opened eyes perceiving through direct observation. Having left the realm of fairy tales and fictions, sharpened beaks pointing the right direction. Making use of the tools we have at hand to fight against ignorance across our land. Smashing absurdity with blue branches, uncovering idiocy and distributing paint ranches. Separating the weed from the chaff. Get tragedies, follow patterns and make us young. Badly acting human shields that randomly spawn. Making use of the tools we have at hand. Separating the weed from the chaff. We do in fact call BS on your fabricated anecdotes. Moving on without you, not even leaving notes. Activating infinite potential, lying fallow people waking up, speaking what they know. We recognize your fakes, empty the frames. We have looked through all your fancy games. Your green screen doesn't impress us anymore. Your fear tactics acting weaker despite fake gore. Not accepting thoughts that caught me thought cages. Thinking freely from our hearts, writing pages. Entries to the book of life so keen. Walking a new passes and ends unseen.
All right, thanks for the video there, Simi. I'm going to put a link to it if any of you want to get that video on your playlist. Like I said, we're moving it all to a centralized, decentralized archive. A great collection of animations. Unfortunately, Mandoozled was Mandoozled. We can no longer watch that video. They took it down. We still have ISS on Fire, Drain the Pool, and Smudgegate. Really fast, here's ISS on Fire. Fingers crossed they do it on Thanksgiving weekend.
ISS on fire. 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 ISS on ISS on fire. 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 ISS on fire.
So there you have it, Penguinati, Terra Incognita, and the ISS on Fire. Links below if you want to put this song on your playlists. Highly recommend it. Subscribe to all the content creators around you, and unfortunately they took our Mandoozled, but we'll get it back. I made the point earlier. It's like you could have death metal songs about murdering people of a different religion for fun, and you can have rap songs about doing bad things to people and robbing banks, committing crimes, Grand Theft Auto, real life style. And that's not considered hate speech. But I'm on a live stream, and we put a bowl cut on somebody and bam, it's a hate crime. Artifact Man says, I think the CGI water tank is malfunctioning as we speak. Yeah, I brought it up earlier. I was looking at one of the ISS live stream videos, and man, there was a big old smudge. I mean, it was like 10 times bigger than the previous one. So I don't know if they're just messing with me or not. Hey, look, I'm going to ban this guy. We got somebody here who's an advocate for preventing a specific medical procedure. Yeah, go be a social justice warrior somewhere else. Get a sign, go on a street corner. This isn't your street corner. Like, make a video about it. These social justice warriors are more concerned with... we get you, man. You're so virtuous. Stand up for the victims. So not cutting edge. And that's what the meaning of our thumbnail is. You got the beak there. We're just like, we don't have room for every single pet issue. So if your issue is, I'm against plastic drinking straws, why should we devote 10 minutes of our time to that? We've got a lot of focused minds here who have reached a certain level of situational awareness. You think I'm going to waste this on plastic drinking straws? No way. So take your little pet issue and do something with it somewhere else. These little agendas. SJWs are the worst. Look, we pegged you for an SJW earlier, and we only tolerated you to see how long you would stick. Because most SJWs are paid. If they're not paid, they're stooges. And you can usually tell by how scripted they are. If they're very persistent and they're not emotionally attached to it, if you can insult them with impunity, yeah, they're agents. Real people don't take beatings like that. Hyper-realistic masks are more believable than human faces. We've already crossed that point where deepfakes aren't coming, the deepfakes are coming, the deepfakes are coming. No, they've already been here, and it's admitted now. Your entire reality has been subverted. What I don't know yet, though, I'm kind of working on this one, actually. I'll get to it later. But we need to study this stuff. I need to get one. If somebody has £1,000 that they want to invest into our research, I found a mask supplier. Infinite Plane Radio.
Hey, what's up, IPS? It's Millie with Trent.
Hey, what's going on? Just checking out the deepfakes. What are you looking at tonight as far as our topics?
First I want to say, Sean King?
Oh yeah, transracial Sean King, Telcom X.
Yeah, they're trying to do that whole, now they're giving white people the black guy to look up to. Is that what they're doing?
Oh yeah.
That guy's black, right?
Sean King, definitely white and ginger, and then he deepfaked it. He was called out.
Yeah, he looks like a light-skinned black man.
He kind of passes, and if you look at it, it has to do with his hairline, his facial hair, And everything is his posture, the way he dresses, his mannerisms. Like he really cultivated it like an actor would. But if you look at his lineage, no, he's definitely like a redhead ginger type. And yeah, I'll put him on the screen. And he's just one example. You know, you have all these leaders who are all plants. I mean, you have Rachel Dozanel, another ginger who passed off enough to be prominent in the NAACP.
But the funny thing is, they used to like. Well, I guess Malcolm X was the same thing too, right? Like they tried to use like a white dude to lead the black people.
See, I don't know about that. I mean, I remember one guy I know who was really devoted to this. Malcolm X told me that Malcolm X had red hair. And
Yeah, he was a white guy, man. But anyway, I just seen he looked black. I'm like, they're trying to do the same stuff over again. But you see how Family Guy like sometimes at real time like misinforms you, like the Family Guy anti-vax episode.
Oh yeah.
Not to say. I mean, I don't know. I'm an anti-vaxxer, but it's not because it's just I did my own. Everyone has to do their own thing.
Well, hey, you can't say it's not suspect the way they're gatekeeping the whole issue and mocking the people who don't go with it. So it's very suspect.
Yeah, exactly. Once I see Family Guy making someone, like you said, the point of ridicule, I tend to go with the people that they're ridiculing. But so and it's all right. So so I basically the way that they do stuff like that, like issues at the time. It's the same way Scooby Doo. When did Scooby Doo come out? Was it the 70s?
Yeah, I believe so.
Because remember they used to pull the masks off people?
Damn, you're right. Every episode ended with a mask because some deep fake was behind everything.
Yeah. But this is the thing. The same way that Family Guy is like hitting stuff, they're playing with you on stuff that's going on right now. That's the same way because they can get away with it through the cartoons. And that's why Scooby-Doo, that's why they were taking the masks off people. And then my thing is, who was really masky, and I think he was trying to tell us. And another thing, the government's good at like making us not pay attention to stuff or forget stuff. They're real good at that. And Alfred Hitchcock, was he trying to tell us that they were wearing masks back then too?
Damn, you know what? I'll have to check because I am finding elements of Duper's Delight and Alfred Hitchcock. Wow, that's a good point. I'll have to look into it.
Yeah, it was just some things I just jotted down. And then lastly, when they made Discovery Channel, the reason they they tried to make it like, the case closed. Like, are you kidding me? Discovery Channel is the nail in the coffin.
Oh yeah. I mean
for the curve or whatever.
Yeah, that was hilarious. They had a helicopter going over a hump of water.
I saw it. Like, come on, man.
It's like, what? I mean, if it's over the hump, how is it rising up vertically? Why wouldn't it be at an angle away from us? I mean, no, it's preposterous. They use too short of a distance.
It isn't even that. It's just that I'm never going to go with Discovery Channel. I don't give a damn what they're telling me. If it's not about a cheetah, then I don't give a shit what they're talking about. If it's not about like an animal's characteristics on Earth, I'm not listening to. They talk that star fake shit too, man. Discovery Channel will tell you how there's a wormhole that's going to lead you to the realm of the dimension. No. It's all crap, man.
Oh yeah,
I'm never going to accept them as an authoritarian, whatever.
It's 100% soft propaganda where it's still pushing the main line about global warming, but it's definitely pushing propaganda 100%. And I'm at the point where if the Discovery Channel shows me zebras, I'm like, make sure it's not a donkey that they painted. Like, no, I definitely don't trust them.
Yeah, exactly, man. They try to use them as no way. I don't know. I tend to just go with whatever they're going through extreme lengths to hide is the truth, and they're going through extreme lengths to hide. It's so easy to see.
Man,
they're going through extreme lengths.
Coast to Coast went to the Flat Earth Conference, and the guy who went said he was surprised that you can have talks about Bigfoot or UFOs, and you don't have any stigma, but if you're a flat earther, you do. And he was in a bit of culture shock because he said he believes in aliens, and flat earthers were laughing in his face.
Well, like you said, though, they're making the government agents. That all correlates. You know, the aliens and the climate change and NASA and all that garbage. You know, they're making them say it.
Yeah, no doubt they are, and they put it in the movies. The movies, to me, it's all just wargaming and preparation programming for future news events.
Definitely. That's all the movies are, but that's why the movies are the news, though. That's why you got to pay close attention to the movies, because, you know, that's when they're really telling you the real deal, what they want to do, all that type of shit, man.
Did you see the
It's in
picture?
the movies.
There's a picture I posted earlier that someone sent me, and it's from the movie Blade Runner, which takes place in November 2019.
Yeah, you were telling me.
And I'm like, man, this is the movie where they're unmasking deep fakes that they call replicants. But yeah, the Blade Runner's car is exactly like the new car that Tesla just put out.
I know, and it kind of scares me, because it makes me think, like, I'm not going to say scares me. It just, I raise a brow to, like, you know, how did they know that, like, did they, like, is it purpose, like, I don't know, like, did they know we were going to be on them now, or, like, it's just, it's fitting too perfectly, man. I don't like that.
It really is. It really is. And I think people get that eerie feeling when they look back at stuff and they say, well, that was foreshadowed. But the difference is we're seeing the foreshadowing, you know, right in front of us all the time. And it just, to me, it just says, yeah, there's a script, like a big storyline that's like a general story that they're following. And these are signs right here, or indications that it's connected between what they give us through this is supposed to be free market. Like, this is supposed to be like a car brought to the marketplace and it matches a sci-fi movie. That's not random.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. It's like, come on, man. It just gives me a bad feeling on the inside. Like, you know, it's cool that what we're talking about, but then again, it's like, did they give it to us? Like, I don't know, for some crazy, even deeper agenda. Like, now we find out about the deep fakes, but because, you know, maybe it's because they were already implementing the next stage. I don't know. It's weird.
For once, with the deep fakes, I actually feel like we're ahead of it. And I even think that consolidating auto hoaxers was never supposed to happen, because all the big channels they push are still false flags, MK Ultra, and clones. None of them have touched deepfake, and they shy away from auto hoax. So I actually think we're actually ahead of them for the first time.
I have that feeling as well, because the way that the culture shock you get whenever you tell somebody that Justin Bieber's The Weeknd, it's like no one else is pumping that. No one is pumping that, you know. So it's like, I know for sure that there's something there, you know. I mean, I don't know. I get optimistic, but like maybe something's gonna change, or like maybe people will wake, like, you know, see what's going on. But then at the same time, I still get that negative feeling that the government orchestrated all, even this. Well, not you guys per se, just letting the cat out the bag. Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe they did it for some crazy.
Well, that's the standard operating procedure for a limited hangout, where this is gonna leak. So let's give 10% of the information out, figure out who figures it out, and then control it. And so limited hangouts are pretty much how they run all these operations. So the thing about this deepfake thing is that there are very few people consolidating on this issue as rapidly as we are. So we'll see what happens in the coming days. But I don't know. I have a feeling this might be a big one. Like, this might be the next.
Hold on, check this out, Tim. Because I was thinking about this when I was driving the other day. If your life depended on it right now, and you got to be right, is Miley Cyrus Aisha Curry.
Damn. You know, what sold me on that one was her laugh. And then there was a kind of like she sang happy birthday once. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah, that one.
So if life depended on it, you're going full on, it's the same person.
I'll say my neighbor's life, but yeah, no, I'm just kidding, man. But yeah, I'd bet on it. I'd bet on that one. I'd lose money on that one.
Yeah, I hear you. Because it's so tough to just say, yeah, it is. But I don't know, the Kill the MC one. You know what makes it all fall in line? Oh, you know what? That's another thing I wanted to talk about, which I know for sure is happening. I know it because I sense it and I feel it. What's happening is they, being the death fakers, they listen to your show, but they don't want to give you the views. So what they do is, I'm sure that they have an agent or two, like one or two government agents, that pretty much like mass emails all the fakers your latest show, and they all like are seeing like, was I called out? Was I called out? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And I'm so sure about that because you know, they know, like you said, there's number one, it's the same. Remember that dude that was talking about? I've been known about the NASA founder was the Disney was the Hollywood founder. But and then the same guy that told you the dinosaurs was real, the same person telling you about this. Remember that?
Oh, yes.
You were talking about that?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So there's not a
Alvarez.
lot of them. So they got an agent or two that pretty much mass emails Akil the MC and Heath Ledger and all the death fakers and politicians and this, that, and the third. Okay, so they got an agent or two that emails them. So because everyone wants to know, you know, I guarantee you them death fakers, Akil, all of them, they listen to your show, man. But through an email, like through something else. Not right now how we are, but I know that they get the show because archetypes, I didn't even have to look into certain people once I pretty much figured it out, because I used to think like one rapper would kill another rapper to get deeper into the game. Like French Montana had Chinks somehow murdered, or Kodak Black had Triple X murdered. You know, they're both from Florida. One had to come up he had to kill his brother. But no. Now that I'm on Auto Hoax, I understand that they were all faking it. So now I understand, like, someone like, he hasn't been brought up. I haven't heard him. I've been listening to you probably 6 to 8 months now. I don't know. Since Nipsey Hussle. So I pretty much know, like, a guy like Pimp C, right? I don't think you've ever talked about him, but he supposedly, I got him under, hey, Pimp C, you're going to listen to this, and I'm sorry, bro, because I like these people, man, but, you know, you got to, you know, a fraud is a fraud, man. This is the thing. Okay, I got him under precursor archetype for lean epidemic. Lean being like how all the kids drink promethazine now.
Right.
Okay, so he supposedly died of a promethazine overdose in a hotel room. And you know, they always die in a hotel room. Heath Ledger, Mac Miller, Pimp C, they're big on hotel rooms. So but the thing is, I didn't even look into it or nothing. I mean, I looked into it before when I used to think that they were killing each other and stuff like that. But now that I'm on Auto Hoax, I understand that they're faking it. I don't even have to look. I just know Pimp C was a precursor archetype for the lean epidemic. I know it. You know.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Like James Belushi or Jim Belushi and Chris Farley, when they died, that was to shine a light on the war on drugs and how drugs are destroying people. So yeah, definitely.
You don't even have to look at it. You already know. Like, you don't even have to look at the circumstances and this and that. Was Chris Farley in the hotel room?
Chris Farley died in his home. We got pictures of it. I think it was an apartment, but 33 years old. And we, of course, called him out, and we saw what appeared to be immediate damage control.
He was like John Candy 2.0.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
In my eyes, I was younger, but I always correlated him with John Candy. Like, for some reason, it was like he was just like another John Candy, like fat, probably like the party, you know, and just died early. But now that I understand that they're just, you know, they're fucking with you and making them take different roles and everything.
Oh, yeah,
like
with Chris Farley, when I looked at Rob Ford, what got me to think this was serious was I saw the way that Rob Ford tripped and fell on a football field and ran into a TV camera, and I'm like, that's classic Chris Farley physical comedy.
Because they still want to let it out. Heath Ledger had to kill himself off. Are you going to be known as the guy that got famous for playing gay, man? Come on. He had to kill that character off.
Well, that character, Heath Ledger, the archetype there is an interesting one because he's a joker, but you ought to compare, and that's another 27 Clubber, but compare his makeup, his face, and his hair to the character in The Crow, played by another death faker. Same makeup, same Joker smile, same archetype.
Very good. Yep, same kind of that eerie, very dark. Yeah,
and Brandon Lee's death date.
See that.
Brandon Lee's death date, and of course he plays the Crow, which is kind of like a phoenix symbol in this movie. He dies, rises from the dead. His death date was 3/31, Nipsey's death date, and then his dad was Bruce Lee, another death faker.
Now, what archetype? I hear you talk about Bruce Lee, and I've heard so many people say that. But what's his archetype? Tragedy?
I think it's sage. Like, I think he came back because he always had these sage-like things he would say, very pithy quotes that made him seem almost transcendent and almost like a superhero.
Okay, fake Messiah. Okay, yeah, definitely.
And then when he comes back as Mikio Kaku, who's an out-of-this-world astrophysicist who talks about, the deep space. So there again, you have him like this quasi-mystic. So I think that's his archetype.
Exactly. Yeah, the fake Messiah archetype. Like, yeah. And you know what, Brendan Lee, I always knew that was crap, man, because they put real bullets in a gun. Wasn't that what they said would kill them?
Yep, that is.
That Hollywood had a real M16 bullets?
And that's how
or whatever.
And that's how his dad... Well, that's how Bruce Lee died in a movie called Game of Death before he died of an overdose. So you have this thing where Bruce Lee dies in a film the way his son dies for real later on 331 after playing a Christ Phoenix death resurrection role.
Wow, never really looked into all. It's so much. It's so much, man. It's tough to look at all that stuff, man. But like you were saying yesterday, man, it's like they got the best writers in the world. So it's what they do, man. They get the biggest and the best. It's like that handler. Remember on 9/11 when the guy, he reminds me of like the dude from the Ford commercials. The one, basically you had an auto mechanic explain to you why 9/11 happened and why the buildings came down.
Oh, yes.
Remember that crisis actor right there?
Like he knew way too much. I mean, like he was an
No, he gave you the exact explanation right then and there. Like the incident happened. This guy that looks like he just got done fixing the transmission is telling us why the buildings came down. But what I was going to say is they take the biggest and the best, man. Did you see his handler? The guy looked like he was 6'6", ripped up. He'd rip your head off. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of guys that they get, man, to do this shadowy crap, man. That dude that was behind him, that black dude with the bald head, he was deep CIA or deep whatever you want to call it. But you see, they get some big boys that, like you said, with the writers, with the killers, with the fighters, with the, all that, man. It's like they get your biggest and best, man. And that's why we're out here with what we have, because the colleges get your biggest and your best, and the law enforcement and the sports and this and that and the third, and the common folk are just like the fucking degenerates, man. Not to say it like that, and that's pessimistic thinking, but it's just, how I felt. Like, how I feel sometimes.
I'm going to try some of their tactics back. Like, one of the things they know is that they market well. They market their bad ideas, and they market their lies very well. And a lot of people do respond to like very basic things, like if there's a big crowd, the bandwagon effect still works. So you see with their shills, they can buy subs, they can fake numbers, and if somebody sees 10,000 people listening to someone, they're going to give it a few minutes versus if no one. And so I was looking, and I actually found a site where if you spend $15, you could have 2,000 or 3,000 live viewers on a stream. I could do that right now for $12, and even though it wouldn't change the quality of the chat, who knows? If people see 2,000 people, they might jump on over to see what the buzz is about.
Yeah, but you know what? Truthers know better than that, man. Because, it's almost like a given. Anyone with more than 10,000 subs is a government agent, man. Don't even do it, man. Keep it organic, bro.
I think 5 is the magic number. I think once you hit 5, they start looking and they send full-timers to mess with you. I think that's
they got to make sure that you're down with the platform. And if you're not down, you're getting taken down. Like, I like to see 1.2 thousand subscribers, 800, 400, because once you get into the thousands and thousands, there's no way that you're genuine, man. There's got to be...
I think this, though, I am reserving that as a tactic. like not as a daily thing, but let's say we're trying to break apart a certain psyop and I want to reach a critical mass. I could see throwing down $100 and having this like just anomaly of a live stream, and people will be like, what the hell? And even if 100,000 are fake or 10,000 are fake or whatever, you'll bring in more. But you're right.
Yeah.
Generally, the numbers are an indicator of how compliant somebody is.
Oh, for sure, man. Come on. I mean, you're going against this. Like, people don't get that part. You think that Vlad T, like, this guy got 700,000 views. You think he's really dropping a jewel on you? You think, come on. Like, yeah.
No, politicians
like, no,
do it, man. I mean, Hillary Clinton has CGI people in the audience. They either bust in protesters or they a lot of it is fabricated. But that's because they know human psychology. If you're trying to reach the masses, that's how you do it.
Yeah, they're excellent. They're excellent at making you doubt shit. They're excellent at making you forget about certain stuff. I mean, like you said, man, they know the mind. They know it, and they know how to play on it, man. They know.
Oh, one more point.
It's a tough game.
Some guy in the comment just said Mandela channels have over 20,000 subs. Yeah, it seems like the conspiracies that they're pushing on purpose are the ones that get all the padded numbers.
I commented on that on one of your videos. It's basically like this, man. When you look up Mandela effect, you get all these parentheses, independent channels popping up, right? But it's all garbage. Because when you look up Sandy Hook, all you get is ABC, Fox, MSN. It's like, bring back the old Sandy Hook videos, man. I mean, I wish to God that they would do that, man. Because people are so fucking stupid, man. And it makes me sick to my stomach, man, how they're, like, guiding us and changing our lives due to all this fake garbage. And people are too stupid to take 10 seconds to look and see if the shit was actually real or not, man.
Well, one place where I think we're finally starting to win, and I'm getting in touch with Tim Truth soon, is moving seamlessly into new platforms that cannot be erased and building authoritative archives. Like, I would like to have an authoritative archive of crisis actors and every bit of footage available in one place that can never be deleted. They burned down our YouTube libraries, so right now we are, in fact, starting to push back, and so we have to, though. If we weren't pushing back, we would have been drowned out a long time ago. I mean, this is my 68th channel.
Yeah, man, I thank God that you kept fighting, man. Because imagine, I'd have still, well, first of all, when the lizards, when Anonymous took over and the lizards and all this garbage, I stopped searching because it was crap. I don't believe in lizard people. I don't believe in parallel dimensions. It was so obvious, oh my God, when people were taking Anonymous serious. How stupid can you be, man? And now, like you said, now QAnon is 2.0. I see people around in my town, man, like with the freaking Epstein didn't kill himself, like on their cars, and like, how stupid are you, man? Like, open your eyes. I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's a travesty, and Miles Mathis pointed out that they went from serial killers to school shootings because the public attention span has been shattered, and I tend to agree. So.
Oh yeah, we're like goldfish. It's like 30 seconds or more, 30 seconds or less. Like that's it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that's where it's getting ridiculous. But hey, thanks for the call.
Of course, man.
Yeah, as always. Have a great night.
Yep. You.
All right, everyone. Here is one more time. We have someone was requesting it again. ISS on fire.
ISS on fire. ISS on fire. ISS on fire. ISS on fire. ISS on fire. ISS on fire. ISS on fire. ISS on fire. ISS on fire. ISS on fire.
All right, we got some more damage control. Check this out.
It's been 23 years now since rapper Tupac Shakur was shot
Looks
to death
like
in Los
they're going to try to bring the Tupac Shakur case to a close. This was just announced. Again, this is probably damage control because of Cam B and others. Retired LAPD, now who is the one who said this, should make an arrest in Tupac's murder very soon.
Vegas. Since then, someone confessed to the murder, but he's still a free man. Tonight, KCAL9's Nicole Comstock spoke with a retired detective who was in the room during that confession. She's live in Rancho Cucamonga with more. Nicole.
Yeah, Susie, and tonight that detective told us that right now homicide investigators in Las Vegas have all the probable cause they need to make a move in this case, and he doesn't understand why they haven't. He was a legend in life and in death, and 23 years after.
Okay, so it looks like, again, they bring out these conspiracies. Here we go. Let's see who it is. In order to distract you from the fact that it's fake. In other words, this is a psyop.
Prosecuted.
Clearly, there's probable cause to arrest him.
Kading says it all boils down to Dwayne Davis, also known as Keefe D. Back in 2009, Kading was questioning Keefe D in regard to the Los Angeles murder of Biggie Smalls, when he says Keefe D surprisingly confessed instead to his involvement in the Las Vegas murder of Tupac Shakur. That confession was recorded.
So Orlando shot him across Dre? He leaned over on the window, he rolled down the window, popped.
Again, more rabbit hole, and this is all to conceal. This is all done to conceal the fake. They give you these various explanations. It's a whodunit. Now, there is a theory that this guy on the left, I believe his name is Orlando, is Tupac in a silicone mask. I don't know if any of you heard this one. That he played his own killer, but now they're saying maybe it's this other guy. But regardless, the theory going on right now is that this is in fact Tupac in a silicone mask.
Keefe D claimed he didn't have a good enough aim, so he handed his nephew Orlando Anderson the gun, that Anderson used it to kill Tupac. Anderson was later killed in another crime.
We would have been on our side, I would have bled.
His initial statements were protected by what's known as a proffer session, where a person can give up information about a crime without their confession being held against them in court.
Okay, so, yes, that's the guy, Orlando, who appears to be Tupac in a silicone mask, Tupac being an actor, not a real gangster, but only played a gangster on the world stage. And that's where they get you. They always get you. Yeah, High Impact Flicks is going to come out with a video saying that Tupac's shooter was in a helicopter. Man, we've got some excellent memes of that guy. I don't think we've gone far enough yet. Does anybody have one? If you have a link to it, I got a few. So if you didn't know, High Impact Flicks outed himself as an agent who is protecting the Vegas event. Why? Because that's what agents do. They're guardrails, and their purpose is to protect the integrity of the mainstream psyops. It's pretty simple. And it works. They can have you spending 23 years trying to find Tupac's killer. You think if it was real, they would have solved it by now. And what's more, if you were to call the detective and say, hey, we don't think he's really dead, you think the detective would be open to listening to you? No way. No way. Okay, Smudgegate matters. We're not going to let them get away with that. Just want to remind you of it. If you want to take the poll, type in the word poll and Nightbot will show you the way. Despite what the Mandela effect assert, you cannot move the engine of an airplane arbitrarily without affecting its center of gravity. So your Mandela effect, if it exists, contradicts known physical laws. It actually brings you into the Looney Tune reality where orbiting space stations are plausible. I don't know if you want to live there. Also, if you like my avatar, it's the Baron Samadi Penguin. You can get those at the following link. I'll put those below. Alright, so I'm going to take off. Hey, thanks for all the callers. Again, if you do see Red's rhetoric anywhere, be sure to mention Smudgegate. I don't think we can let them get away with it. Smudgegate is a huge Achilles heel. really the biggest one I think we've had, because they can argue away many things, and they have, because they've had years and years to deal with us, constantly saying, what's with the green screen, what's with the harnesses, what's with the bubbles, and they figured out plausible answers for each. But they don't have an answer yet for the smudge, and I really want to continue to harp on this issue until they come up with an answer. And I think if we just don't let it go, they might rush to an answer, and who knows? Like, I kind of expect them to concede that we have a point. We might even get some converts. Red's rhetoric might join our side. All right, this is Auto Hoax or GTFO by Chief Crow.
It's not okay to think that the Earth is flat.
Is the Earth flat or round?
Soon